schedule was released yesterday. For more on that, we do a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. We'll also get more on that as Sal Capaccio will join today's show at 5 p.m. But some big news for next week. The NFL owners will be getting together next week for the league meetings. One of the topics up for the discussion is a resolution that would allow NFL players to participate in the Olympics, which is set to include flag football for the first time since 2028. If this were to go through, no more than one player from each team could participate. 2 Game 5s tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Washington hosts Carolina at 7, and the Stars are in Winnipeg versus the Jets. That game at 9:30. Dallas, Carolina, they are the teams who can advance tonight with a win. Then in the NBA, just one game tonight, Game 6 of Thunder and Nuggets. It's in Denver at 8:30. OKC advances tonight with a win. It is day 1 of the PGA Championship. It is getting underway at Quail Hollow. The current leader is Ryan Gerard. He sits at 5 under par. And then in baseball today, it is reverse retro night for the Bisons. They host the Woo Sox just after 6. That game is going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
It's nothing you did.
It's not you, it's me.
It's not you. It's you, but you didn't cross me.
And the Bulldog.
Why did I choose? Why did I just stay in school?
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Hey, that's us.
Yep.
Did you know we were living in a schedule release video world?
I guess not. No, I didn't. I knew of some schedule release videos, but I didn't. Do all the teams do them?
I don't know.
I couldn't. There was some Twitter account did the work to put a thread together.
Let's see. Twitter again, underrated.
And I clicked on it and started going, and I got to like the Patriots, and it was the Barstool guy, and I was just like, I'm out. I'm just like, I'm done. So I did not keep going, as I have no idea if all the teams did them.
I didn't know about New England. I never saw anything that was like, here's what everybody did. I did see Underdog did a top 5, and I had seen 4 of the 5. I hadn't seen Jacksonville's, but
that's another one I started and then just got. That was I didn't know who the player was.
It's not a player.
Okay. So the question I had the whole time I was watching it I probably watched, I don't know, maybe a minute of it, was, who is this? Yeah. And then there was a scene that I thought he was in front of a locker at one point. And I'm like, well, okay, give me a name just because, should I know who this is?
So his name is Ashton Hall.
Okay.
And he was a college player, I think, but he's somebody I'll talk to my son about. Like a famous YouTube guy, maybe.
All right.
Famous for his morning routine, which they made their video about.
Okay.
Like,
yeah.
Sticking his face in ice water with lemon or something.
Okay. So you need to workout. You need to know some stuff.
You did in this case.
Right. You need to know some stuff. I thought the same thing. Like, there were the 2 Minecraft videos, right? The Colts one and the Chargers one. I saw the Chargers one first, and it's, not surprisingly, super creative, really funny. But I felt like I was watching both these with my son Owen last night after they all started coming out. We were watching hockey, and we just started watching them.
We did the same thing at home.
And I said to him, I feel like 80% of this is going past me.
At least.
Like, I know what Minecraft looks like, right? I'm not in enough to know. I had to Google. I got around to watching the Colt one, and I said to him, the Colt one is not as creative, but I feel like I get it more. It's less.
Yes.
Like, I don't need like a Cliff Notes of Minecraft to get the jokes.
Right.
Except for, and I didn't know this until after I read the explanation of them pulling it down, what could have been offensive about it. Obviously, Tyreek Hill and the Coast Guard, I think they even said themselves that they apologized for that. I didn't know what Kyler Murray riding on a chicken
jockey
represent. I had no idea what a chicken jockey was supposed to mean. Like, is that can't be racist? They wouldn't have done that. Like, what is this? I don't get it.
Who knows with the Colts though?
Right, I guess. So I felt like I needed I needed a writer to explain. I just needed an explanation. A bibliography is what I needed for these videos.
A bibliography, a writer, or Sal's son.
Right.
Who this morning on the air, frame by frame, zaprudered every scene, every image in the Minecraft ones. And they got done with the Colts. When I was wondering, I'm listening, I'm wondering, like, where do they find this? Because the Colts one was deleted, but somehow, like, they had it.
It was saved. Like,
sure.
You can find it out there.
Sure. And then they got done with the Colts, and Sal's son, Max, who's 11, said, let's do the other one. So then they called up the Chargers, and like there was one thing that they didn't notice that I had noticed, and that was Sal and his son and their producer Josh, and like I caught that. There was one thing in the Chargers one that I caught that I was proud of myself for that they hadn't noticed. But I don't know. You do need it.
What was that?
I forget. I'll think of it. Okay. There was one thing though. I remember like, no, you guys.
Obviously meant a real lot to you.
It was like in the, 60 to 70% or so into the Chargers one. Like, oh no, that's what that was.
Right. Like
I'll think of it.
For example, Josh Allen walking out of a movie theater. Okay, I get that. His fiance is a movie star. She's got a movie that's getting a lot of attention coming out. I get that.
Which one is this?
This is the Charger one. At the end of the Charger one, as the credits are rolling, the screen shrinks on the right-hand side, and one of the little bits they have squeezed it. They have who's the guy on the Bears who was yelling at the Washington crowd when the Hail Mary happened?
Dominique Stevenson?
They've got him
maybe
there, and then the next clip is Allen walking out of a movie theater. And Sauce Gardner is there.
Okay.
And they like sort of like look at each other and then walk off together. And I had no idea that Sauce Gardner had said anything about the movie. I guess he said he wasn't going to go see the movie or something. I don't know. I had no idea. I'm like, I get Josh Allen in the movie theater. What is Sauce Gardner doing?
I wouldn't have known anything about that.
It's another thing I need. I need to have it explained to me because I'm old.
Also, why would Josh Allen literally go to the movies? Wouldn't they just come to him? But okay,
in
maybe not
uniform,
take it so literally.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, like the Giants. The Chargers are playing the Giants, I guess. And they had a few different references making fun of the Giants, and they were all lost on me until Max came into my world and explained that the medium soda poster on the Giants one is a dig because they might have had a fan appreciation day and they gave away a medium soda to fans.
Like right up your alley.
When that was happening, I know the Sabres had to have that quarter.
Didn't they have a Saquon Barkley ghost in that too?
Yeah, maybe.
There's a ghost of Saquon Barkley that like comes out of the wall, and the giant dude is like just looking up at it. I think that's the end of the giant.
Sure.
Clip.
I like the Colts one more because I understood it better.
Right.
They play in the Rams. The Colts guy, beats the ram and cuts his horn off, and then starts to blow into it.
I laughed out loud when that happened.
That's not complicated.
No, I get it.
So I like that one more. Yeah. The Bills made a mark.
I think the Bills did a really good job. I think they did a really good job. I did not see it coming at all. That it was going to be Allen Iverson. I don't know who would have. I mean, AI is so ever present in our lives now that it's phrasing you've gotten used to hearing and not thinking, speaking for myself, of Allen Iverson. And so when he shows up on the screen, it's like, this is great. And I love that he you can't even barely read the sketch. It's
good.
Because
good idea.
You got to know everybody's seen it. The purpose of this is not for you to see the schedule; it's to be funny about the schedule. So I like that they didn't care that you couldn't really even see it. Like whatever, it's fine. It's Allen Iverson. That's the joke.
Good.
Yeah,
it was good.
It was well done. I thought of you for sure for the Tennessee one with the drug ad. That was
absolutely.
I really liked that a lot. The disclaimers for each opponent were
really funny.
They all weren't home runs, but a few of them were really, really good.
Really funny.
Yeah.
It's not comfortable for me to like give the Titans credit for creativity, but again, they did well. I just didn't realize we were going to have the onslaught last night that there was, because I'm sitting down at 8:00 when the schedule is posted. Here comes all of them, just one after another. Everybody's right there. You get in first. Jump the line with your video. So, I guess that's good. It's unfortunate to me that the Colts one was pulled, because I'm sure one reason why I liked that one and like these in general is that, they're self-effacing. They're willing to sort of express, whoever it is doing them is expressing opinions that principled people on the team would never say out loud. Right. Like the Colts are going to play Miami. Nobody's making fun of Tyreek Hill going into that game. But somebody in charge of the schedule video is feeling at liberty to do so.
Right.
And Tyreek Hill himself said, I'm fine with it.
Right.
I think it's funny.
They shouldn't have pulled it, he said, yeah.
The chicken jockey is from, according to Max, is from the movie.
Right.
The Minecraft movie. You need to know that.
I needed to read some reviews to get that information.
And you did that.
Yes, I did.
And it's funny. It's effective when you don't need to know the reference to like it.
Right. Actually, I didn't even read reviews. I Googled chicken jockey, and it just AI came up and said, this is from the Minecraft. Oh, okay, that's it. That's the joke.
I'm interested in the backstory on Iverson, because I thought he came off like he was just handed to him. The whole thing was just handed to him.
Yeah.
Brandon Beane is asking him to help present the Bills' schedule, and he's like, the Bills? Oh, Josh Allen, or whatever he says. And it's an honor. And he gets into it, and then Beane at the end is like, go Bills, and he won't. It's like, go Josh Allen.
Right.
Like, it felt like maybe like a cameo or something where did they pay Allen Iverson, or does somebody know him? Did they pay Allen Iverson like you would somebody on Cameo? And like, I need you to do this. And he basically does about that much work in this, and it's over. Like, that's the whole thing.
Right. Like, I wonder if that's real or if that was the joke, part of the joke. That he was going to be so, I don't want to say stand up, but like not going really hard at it.
No way.
Right? Like, I wonder if that was part of the rub, or that was just,
I think that's what they got.
All he was going to give them. Yeah. I don't know.
But they also do have different camera angles on him. Like, the people are in the room with him for this. So, I don't think it'll be hard to find out, but I would like to know sort of how that all happened. And there's Alan calling Brandon Beane again, by the way, on the phone. Calls him Beane. I don't know why it bothers me a little bit, but good job, Bills. The Bills are favored in every game.
Yes. Saw that. And some of them are pretty healthy.
Well, they would be.
Right.
I mean, you were one, like a lot of us yesterday, talking about how kind of easy it looks. The schedule. So New Orleans, for one, they'll be big favorites in a few of those games. And as we knew already before they put the order down, their biggest games are all home games. Their best opponents are 4 teams that all come to Buffalo. So favored every game. It happened 3 years ago. And as of now, anyway, that's the case. They are the largest division favorite. They are favored in every game upon the release of the schedule. I think there's a certain closure that we're at right now. The draft is over, the schedule is out, and apart from a few mini camps, practices and things, it's going away for a while. Not even the NFL can manufacture too much more news between now and like July, at least July, so a couple months. And I think we're looking at what is the topic of the offseason going to be? It's really not going to be bogged down in did they need another receiver. I don't think that's going to be so.
Don't think so at all. Yeah.
Much of a story that to Brandon Beane, it may sound like it, but I don't think we'll be just obsessed with that. I think it becomes like the 1 seed. And is it attainable? You would think it probably is. They've never had it, but it's, something worth shooting for with their schedule, their odds, every bit of it, their history. Like, they've won the division 5 years in a row. So I think it's the 1 seed, and how important it is. That Chief, well, there's two. Then there's two home playoff losses in this 5-year stretch, the Bengals and then the Chiefs, which might make it less, might bring up, like, we might be less obsessed with it. Or less feeling like there's no other way through than to be at home throughout the playoffs.
I have felt for a long time. I don't think I felt this way 10 years ago, but I definitely feel this way now. The being home is fine. You'd rather be home than on the road, but the week off is the thing they've never had, right? So you lose to the Bengals, you lose to the Chiefs. And yes, they're both at home, and like, so you're not invincible at home. And I'm not. I don't know. I don't want to say it would be naive to think you'd be invincible at home, but pretty close to it. I mean, I just think you follow the league. It's not. You're playing a great team in the playoffs. Pretty much anything can happen. So, but the thing they've not had the benefit of is that week off, and the Chiefs have had it. Right? Were they? No, they wouldn't have been. They came here 2 years ago, so they really weren't the one. But last year, of course, they were. So they had the week off. I want the week off. I think, and so I don't know, obsessed, but it's absolutely a priority to me. Going, as we're transitioning from draft and schedule, like you said, to sort of the couple of months here between now and training camp. That the 1 seed is going to be on my mind as soon as the season is in the window.
It's the target, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it definitely should be.
It seems a little bit obnoxious, but the division it looks weak. So the Bills' goal can't. Well, I mean, I don't know about theirs, but I feel like talking about the AFC East only takes you so far, right? At this point. The other teams can talk about that.
Yeah, and if your schedule is, you can carve it up any way you want. 7 out of 10 on the road, 4 out of 5 within that stretch on the road. But if you've got the 5th easiest schedule and your travel isn't arduous and the time off is kind of a wash, right? I think they've got rest maybe in 4 games and maybe 5. The team coming in has more. It's not. There's no disadvantage there, really prominent anyway. So you've got this schedule, and especially the road schedule that doesn't look that tough. Yeah, I think you should be thinking absolutely about the 1 seed. You should be thinking about winning 13 games. I don't know if that'll be enough. Maybe you got to win 14. And I don't know that has to be out of the question with their schedule. I mean,
last year would have been 15.
Right. So, but, at least even to get a look at it, right? The Chiefs sat down in their last game, too, because they didn't need it. So
they were 15-1 going into that game.
Right. So we'll see how that all goes. Maybe the Chiefs, some of their luck runs out, and if they have a similar kind of season, I just think to me that is absolutely the thing that you can shoot for. Like, of course, nothing really matters till January, but how you position yourself for that is what the season is for. And I think at this point, it being, along with going to the Super Bowl, the thing they've not been able to pull off, that's what I'd be stunned if everybody over there isn't thinking about the 1 seed. Like, that's what we need to get to unlock this.
Well, it's one game at a time, though. I mean, you can't.
Sure, right.
You can't do that. I even think, like, the schedule has me really excited for the season because when you look at the Chiefs or the Ravens, there's just a lot more. I mean, they both come here for one thing. There's just a lot more, challenges. It's just tougher than what the Bills face. At least that's how it looks. Like, I think of the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens have been as good or better than the Bills for this stretch of time, 4 or 5 years. They've been about the same. They've had Cincinnati in their division. The Bills have had Miami. Pittsburgh has been a playoff team. And even with that, Baltimore got to the 1 seed kind of easily 2 years ago. I look at their schedule, and last night I did this, and I thought, this of course is not like set in stone or anything, but I looked at their schedule and I thought, if they lose week 1, they'll never get the 1 seed. Like, it just to me looks like One loss to another one of the teams, and they play Kansas City away in week 4 also. Like, to get the one, they better split those games at least, I think. They all play each other, and maybe the team, if there is one that sweeps the other two, is the one. Because the Bills just do not have... This was Kansas City last year, in fairness. Like, they played the NFC South, and they got away with it, beating Carolina on a field goal on the last play. They didn't dominate a lot of those games, but division got better. That's true for Kansas City this year. Even the Raiders, I think, are a little bit interesting, if not good.
Yeah, there has to be an advantage to having Miami, the Jets, and New England, and the Ravens having the Bengals. And even I'll leave it at the Bengals. I don't know about the Steelers this year. We'll see what they are. But you got to play the Bengals twice, and I don't have any of that. I mean, I'm not assuming you just sweep the division because of that, but it's just not as hard. So, yeah, those head-to-head matchups, and you're right, I think the AFC West is a much harder-looking division than the AFC East.
And Baltimore has the NFC North. Detroit, Monday night, week 3. Chicago, week 8. At Minnesota, week 10. At Green Bay, week 17. There's probably your Peacock game. They didn't announce that, but Baltimore at Green Bay is pretty good, week 17. Like, they've got that division too, as opposed to the Bills having the NFC South.
Right.
I mean, probably a big difference.
Should be. So all that adds up to me to, it's not to me pie in the sky to be, just because the Bills haven't done it yet doesn't mean that it's just like you're forbidden from doing it or something. They should be shooting for that, and I think it's absolutely realistic with their schedule. And what everybody else is facing around them, mainly the Chiefs and the Ravens, like you just detailed.
They both have Detroit, the Ravens and the Chiefs, both at home, but they both have Detroit. Yeah, so we had the schedule. If you weren't with us yesterday, we had it for most of the day. So it's not like today is the big revelation.
Right.
Like we had it and had time to sit with it. Bills favored in every game, the 1 seed. I think and this would be my attitude about them, I think, this year more than ever, is the 1 seed in the AFC. I think if that's really what you make it to be about, then would you take 12 wins? Maybe not. 12-5 is going to win you the division. It could be good enough for the 1. The other teams with their schedules, maybe it is.
It is. I've always said 12 wins, even with 17 games, 12 wins is a great season. It might not be enough, though. I think that's right. I think you might need to get to 13 or who knows, even 14. And like we said, I mean, the Chiefs last year cruised, whatever. They were sitting on 15 and sat down in Week 18.
I would be tempted now to turn down the offer of 12 wins. Because if it's 10, or even 11, but if it's even 10, I still could end up in first place and close enough to where I'd be with 12. Maybe 12 is a second-round home game and 10 isn't. Mm-hmm. But 10 is in, and it's maybe first place in this division, and okay. So I think I'd want to turn down 12, but that seems almost obnoxious to do. That's kind of how I feel, though. I feel like they're just set up great, and the schedule a week or two after the draft takes my mind off what they didn't do in the draft. And the takeaway from the draft was mostly, plus free agency, how hard they went at loading up on defense and, also up front. And okay, I mean, people didn't criticize their draft. The only real pushback on any of it was whatever Brandon Beane perceived to be criticism about not drafting another receiver in there. Really, mostly they got good grades. And you put the free agency pieces with that. It made sense. We won't know for a long time, if it was worth it. But they just looked like they're in great shape, and the schedule, I think, puts a spotlight on that. Agree or disagree? 803-0550 is the number. Alex Gold out of Kansas City will join us today. Sal Capaccio as well. And Brian Koziol, day one of the PGA Championship. I think I'm down a little bit bad so far in the pick 10, but Scheffler -2. Still very early.
Yep.
Too early to complain. But McIlroy, 3 over. Didn't see that coming. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here for you at 803-0550. This is WGR.
the Bills' first 8 games are against quarterbacks that are in their 4th year starting or younger. That's including Justin Fields, so realistically in their 3rd year starting or younger. You get Penix, you get Drake May, you get Bryce Young, you get probably Tyler Shucker, Spencer Rattler, you get Justin Fields. This has to be the year for the Bills. It has to be. Yeah. It has to be. They've never been a 1 seed. Right. This is the year that the Bills should get the 1 seed. This is a year.
Emmanuel Acho. It's kind of a strange framing of the schedule. Like, the fact that the quarterbacks they'll play are young. They're also all high picks, except for New Orleans. I mean, May, Penix, Bryce Young, the guys he mentioned, right? They're also they're not all established as great or anything yet, but the fact that they're young doesn't mean a lot to me. It's just, are they bad? Like, I think Sal's framework is way better. How after Baltimore, the next 6 teams the Bills play, all the way up until Kansas City in Week 9, combined to win like a third of their games last year.
Right.
That's way more telling than how young the quarterbacks are. I mean, Penix, people like him. May, people like him. Bryce Young
really turned it around, yeah.
Yeah, he went from like dead
it looked like it was
pretty good.
When last year began, I thought he was maybe going to get benched. You know, if it didn't get better, I thought he was on the verge of being a first overall pick, getting the E.J. Manuel treatment. Like, thanks for last year. This is not working, and we're pulling the chute. But they stuck with it, and he rewarded them. Yeah, I'm not assuming that that's going to be some easy game, really. And you know, what is an easy game in the NFL? Like, as down as I am on Miami, like, I don't know, like they could still have an explosive offense and hurt you.
Sure. Tyreek Hill motivated by the Colts video that ripped him. He'll be extra motivated this year. Here come 2,000 yards. Tom is next. Hello, Tom.
Hello.
Hi, Tom. You're on the air.
Yeah. So what I was calling about is I heard the comments a little while ago about having a 12-5 record, and I think Chris characterized that as being a great season. And it sounds like blasphemy, but I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be living up to expectations in that Vegas, the guys that are supposed to know something about football, have them favored in every game this year. So 5 losses means 5 failures.
Well,
not really. Well, go undefeated.
Right, they're not going to go undefeated. That's what I think. 12 out of 17 games, not knowing what kind of health you're going to have, what kind of shape the teams are going to be, and how good is Atlanta going to be. I think 12 out of 17 games. I've said it for a few years now. I think that's a great year. Any way you cut it, it doesn't guarantee you of the 1 seed, but I think winning 12 out of 17 games is a great year. I stand by it. I mean, I don't think it's that controversial or hot a take, actually.
Yeah, well, the over and under is 12.5. So,
is it?
Well, I have 11.5 minus 160, but still, same difference. Yeah, that's a better indicator of what's to expect than the fact that they're favored in every game, 6 months out.
12.5 plus 120 is what I was working with.
So 12.
Either way.
Yeah, 12's the number.
12's the number, but I don't think 12 gets you the 1 seed.
It may not.
It might not.
That's the point of the question.
Right. I concede that. I think you can have a great season and not get the 1 seed. I guess that's it. I mean, I don't know, get twisted up in like how specific that is, but I think 12 out of 17 is a great year in the NFL. That's it. I don't know. I don't mean to be unassailable. It's just an opinion, but that's, to me, that my way I judge, I think 12 out of 17 would be a great year. If they need more than that, I hope they can get it, because I want them to get the 1 seed. I don't know that I would sign up for 12 either, like Mike said earlier, because of the schedule and because of the desire to get the 1 seed.
Yeah, they're different questions. Whether it's great, I'm not sure I even care, because it's about the postseason. Like, it doesn't matter how many games you win in the regular season once you know what the outcome of the postseason is. And if they get there, then it, whatever the win total, do people walk around thinking about how many games the Bills won in the regular season in the Kelly years? Or is it just like, how did it end? So that's what really matters for this team. The win total stuff is about, it's a means to an end. It's whether it's a bye or home field, all that stuff. Whether it's great really just maybe is insignificant because it's just going to come down to what happens in the playoffs, I think. But whether you would take it and what it might actually mean in the standings is that's a more interesting question, in my opinion. And I agree with what the caller said at the end. Like, I'm not sure it gets you the one. Tennessee, the 13 seconds year, was a 12-win team. That was 12-5. So was Kansas City. They might have beaten Kansas City. The Chiefs that year, I think it was the year where they had kind of a messy stretch kind of toward the early middle part of their season. Jacksonville and Tennessee maybe both beat them. Anyway, Tennessee at 12-5 was the one. I bet, though, most of these years, it's only a few years since we've had 17 games, but that 12-5 wouldn't maybe any other time have been enough. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think I would turn it down. The way the schedule looks, the big games are at home, I think I would turn it down because that week off, that break, that home field all the way to the Super Bowl is what the Bills have not enjoyed. That's what I would want to say to that. Thank you, Tom. 803-0550 for your calls.
I just looked at every just to confirm it. Since 2020, when the Bills ascended to contender status, 12, the only year that 12 got you the 1 seed was that Tennessee year in 21. It's 14 or 13 every other year.
And 2020 was 16 games, right?
Right. Yeah, the Chiefs were 14-2 that year.
Mm-hmm.
Bills were 13-3.
NFC too?
I haven't looked at that extensively.
There's no way to know.
I mean,
Green Bay with 13. Green Bay and Tampa Bay each with 13 and 21. That's Tampa winning at Lambeau Field to go to the Super Bowl then. Philadelphia with 14 in 22. 3 teams with 12 in 2023. The Niners would have been the one, beating Detroit. And then last year, it's the Eagles. No, the Lions. The Lions were the one. 3 teams won 14 games in the NFC last year. I saw it today. I guess this is strictly win percentage from last year. But the 8 hardest schedules by that metric are all in the NFC. For some reason. Maybe it's that 15-14-14 win thing up top in the conference. Or something else. Last year was a year where there were more teams at the top and more teams at the bottom. Like last year, remember how well into the season you had so many teams were vying for like the first few picks that had just terrible records. Most years, the any given Sunday, last year was not the season for any given Sunday.
Right.
More dominant teams, more hapless teams. So for whatever reason, the 8 hardest schedules in the league are in the NFC. Also, germane to this, Philadelphia, I saw, has 10 games against teams that won at least 10 games last year. Got it? Mm-hmm. And that's a first. But it's 17-game seasons now, making that more likely. And again, last year was so spread out that I think that would have contributed to that. I wonder if there's a team playing more 4-win teams than ever or something like that. Anyway, just some of the math. The Leafs.
What a brutal night that had to be.
That's the worst game you've ever been to.
Yeah.
That's your Carolina Game 4 game.
Yes.
If you're the Leafs.
Yes.
That's the worst game you've ever been to.
It was just horrible. Like, just the guys who scored the goals against you, right? It's just the defenseman and this Greer. Like, what is happening? And the giveaway on which goal was it? The third goal, I think it's maybe 2-0. Still a game. Marner gives it away, leads to the third goal. I think that's the play. Just what a brutal night. I mean, jerseys being thrown on the ice in playoff games.
So bad.
Just wow. Yeah, I mean, I thought, I said we didn't talk about it much because we were, just covered in schedule conversation, but you were going to get Florida's best punch. Like I really thought that they would come hard, feeling like, this team's reputation, the fans are probably really tense, maybe they're really tense, and let's really give it to them. And Toronto just had no answer at all. Just a brutal night. I haven't looked yet to see what the odds look like for tomorrow night.
I can do that.
Game 6 in Florida.
Are you interested in Toronto tomorrow night?
I think I would be.
Plus 200?
I would love to see a Game 7. Just for sports' sake. Like I'm rooting for Toronto in this series, but I kind of like Florida. I think Florida is the best shot for the best final. I don't think anybody else in the East can really run with Edmonton or Dallas, or even Winnipeg. Whoever gets there.
I know, but Florida, this would be 3 in a row.
Yeah,
I've had enough.
I just admire how they play so much that I don't find myself fatigued by them myself. And I'd like to see a good final. And I think Toronto, Carolina, or Washington, if they were to find their way off the mat tonight, I think get run over by any of the 3 teams left in the West. I think Florida, can hang there. So I'm sort of rooting for a good final, but Toronto, I'd like to see a Game 7 on Sunday. That would be awesome. And it's always, we kind of, one thing we, I think, have in common is rooting for good stories. And Toronto winning Game 6 after that performance would be a great story. And set up a Game 7 opportunity on Sunday night, and I'm totally here for that. So go Leafs, go tomorrow night.
Plus 200 is not great respect.
Yeah, I don't know if they can do it.
808
be shot. Yeah, thanks for waiting till 8 o'clock to start that game.
Friday night.
At least it's a Friday, so it's not that bad.
That's the kind of bet I would make. Get the game to overtime. You get a call that everybody complains about because it's probably fixed for the Leafs to get it to 7 games and to get Toronto a cup. Give them that key late power play. There's your win. Plus 200 is not great respect. Washington home tonight is plus 140. The bettors have loved Carolina that whole series, and they've been proven right. 3-1. Dallas at Winnipeg. Both games are TNT tonight. And Winnipeg's a small favorite at home. You give them a chance?
Yeah. Yeah, Hellebuck's been, he shut him out last time out, I think, in Winnipeg, or he had a shutout during the 2 games at home earlier in the series. So, yeah, I think they're, even though it's looked how it's looked, I think they'd still be live. So, yeah, I give them a chance.
Game 2, that might have been the shutout. They lose game 1. One or the other.
Yeah,
I might have that backwards.
Yeah. I think that's right. Dallas won game 1.
I don't have TNT. How can I be expected to follow this stuff? I've got a lot of different channels. I've got the Peacock game. I've got the Netflix games. I've got Prime covered. Apple, if they need to. Baseball's on Apple, so I got to have that for work. TNT eludes me. Sorry. What can I can't have everything. Don't they say that?
Yeah.
You can't have everything. I don't have TNT. And I'm not about to get it. I'm not even sure how I would do it. YouTube? I would need to subscribe to YouTube then?
TV is a way.
Cable?
Max. A Max subscription, which is
Max?
I don't know, like 15. Yeah, I watched some of the Knicks and Celtics. Last night.
I want to subscribe to Max Capaccio. It's just not Max, but Max Capaccio and Minecraft analysis. That was big for me this morning. Like, he was talking, and I didn't know a lot of what he was saying until he said it. Then I felt like I had a better handle on these schedule videos. They made more sense to me. My son, who is 15, was just like yours in that we watched the Chargers one and the Colts one last night. He liked the Chargers one much more. It was longer. And I think, more suited to the Minecraft enthusiast, I would say. More in there. So the Chargers win again. The Titans, the Chargers, they win the offseason. Never the season, but they win the offseason.
Or the schedule, at least.
They win the schedule.
They win the schedule.
They win the offseason from like May 13th through the 14th.
Big couple of days for them.
Yes, they win those days. Alex Gold coming up, our friend in Kansas City on the Chiefs schedule and how it looks from there. Bills and Chiefs, Week 9 in Buffalo this year. I'm sure I'll whip out how dominant the Bills have been against Kansas City in recent regular seasons. That always goes over well. That's a point you want to hear made. The Bills have owned the Chiefs. Don't you know?
In the regular season.
Don't you know that they have?
Just whisper that part.
Sal, too. Brian Koziol as well later. 803-0550 for you. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. Welcome back. The leader at the PGA Championship is Ryan Gerard, who I got to say, that was one of my best picks.
Did you pick him? Yeah, good.
That was one of my best picks,
Good
even
job.
though it's I haven't won yet. Quote, Ryan Gerard was one of my better selections. No, I don't know who that is. Or, quote, Steven Yeager or Smalley or Davis. There's a Davis. Not really sure who that is.
I'm not real sure I know who Fox is. either.
Fox.
I don't know if Donald, I think I know who Donald is.
Luke Donald.
Right.
Also did not take him. I don't have anybody up there. No. The pick 10 yesterday. Scheffler got to -2. And that's good enough. -5's the lead.
I think provided no one goes nuts this afternoon, so if -5 stays the lead, even if it changes, somebody else displaces this Gerard, I would guess that Spieth's name was highlighted up there just now, that Scheffler will be the favorite, the betting favorite going into tomorrow.
I would agree. That's probably something we could look at right now. I would expect to see that right now. McIlroy 3 over? I didn't watch any of it. People were complaining about the app on Twitter this morning, so I don't know.
Yeah, I saw some chatter about there just wasn't a lot of golf or something. Like, not a lot of shots. And I don't know. I didn't get to it until after it was already on the main ESPN channel. My experience watching the app has been usually fine. Like the weekly tournaments, whenever it's there, it's golf. You don't have the tracer. It's not as good a coverage, but there's plenty of golf. So I was surprised to hear that people were finding it not to their liking.
Yeah. Yes. That's what it seemed. Happy 72nd birthday to George Brett. Did you love George Brett?
Yes.
Me too. Yeah. Did everybody love George Brett except maybe Yankee fans?
Yeah, I think probably. Yeah. Because most people who weren't Yankee fans hated the Yankees. Mm-hmm. And Brett's Royals were, a team that was in their crosshairs enough times for you to get behind them. Yes, one of my very best friends in middle school and high school was a huge Royals fan, still is, and that was easy enough to get behind.
Brett might have been the reason?
Yeah, I'm not sure I don't remember what but sure. I mean, he was the best player on those teams. Yeah, I liked him a lot.
He was great. Hit 390. Right? 1980 hit 390? Is that the number? Brett was, he brings back memories like Baseball Digest and Saturday afternoons when you would get Kansas City. Just such a beautiful form, Brett. Like, great name, great face, great name. He had that. Mm-hmm. Just, always Kansas City.
Looked like a ball player.
Yeah. I talked to him on ESPN once. I'll never forget it because he'd had a few. That night was Saturday night. He was at a Royals game, and we were talking to him about something on ESPN Game Night. And there was the story? There was a play at second that was happening as he was watching the game while we were talking to him, and he just sort of stopped what he was saying and sort of yelled, "Oh, that's a terrible call!" He sort of joined the crowd in yelling at the umpire. And I looked up the name of the umpire, and it was Ron Kulpa, and we were watching it in the studio in Bristol, and he was wrong. Like the umpire was right. Whatever the call was, like a steal attempt or something, the umpire looked like the call was the right call. And I said to George Brett, "You owe Ron Culpa a mea culpa." And he's like, "Mea culpa, Ron Culpa." I think he might have even said it back to me, whatever. And I just, put that in my pocket.
That's a pretty
forever.
That's a pretty good moment.
My one George Brett moment. Speaking of Kansas City, Alex Gold joins us after sports. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
The NFL owners will be getting together next week for the league meetings, and one of the topics up for discussion is a resolution that would allow NFL players to participate in the Olympics. And with flag football set to be part of the Olympics for the first time in 2028, that would be part of it. Though, if this were to go through, no more than one player from each team can participate. Good news for Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore. He spoke with media today and said he is cleared for football activities. Barmore's 2024 season was cut short due to blood clots. And stay tuned. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Sal Capaccio will join the show to talk more on the NFL and also the 2025 schedule release from last night. 2 Game 5s tonight in the Stanley Cup Finals. Washington hosts Carolina at 7. Then the Stars are in Winnipeg versus the Jets at 9:30. Dallas and Carolina are the teams who can advance tonight with a win. Then we have one game in the NBA. It's Game 6 of Thunder and the Nuggets. It's in Denver at 8:30. OKC is the team that can advance to the Western Conference Finals with a win. And it's also day 1 of the PGA Championship. It is underway at Quail Hollow. And the current leader still is Ryan Gerard, who sits at 5 under par. And in baseball, it is retro reverse night for the Bisons. They host the Woo Sox just after 6. That game is over on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
Hey, put a little. I never get this line out the first time. It's not even good. Hey, put a little bit more in there, cowboy.
And the Bulldog.
What's your degree in?
Kicking ass and taking names.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
Beautiful day in Western New York. Thanks for spending it with us. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Post-schedule release letdown blues today. I said yesterday, while I'm eager for it, I'll take it as soon as I can get it. I kind of feel like it should be on a Friday because it's the culmination of something. It should be the end of the week. Mm-hmm. Today is not even Friday.
No.
Oh, this is gonna be a long one.
Tomorrow's gonna suck.
Tomorrow is just no schedule, no draft, no nothing. Just hockey.
Golf.
Alex Gold with us now. Yes, golf on the West Her Hotline, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City. Alex, how have you been?
Good, guys. Good. It's been a little bit since we chatted. I was just hoping you guys are already getting ready for your future movie roles and Hallmark movies as well. And if you guys want any advice on how to walk down a sidewalk in the background of a Hallmark movie, I'm glad to talk about that at some point too.
Wow, I'm envious. I did. We got asked about it, and I auditioned.
You made the effort.
I made the effort. I didn't get. I've been noted. I'm not at liberty to say who got the part or all part, but I know I didn't get it. So
they take that stuff seriously.
Yeah.
You know, I had to sign an NDA as well, but I was hoping you guys, my car made it in the Chiefs one as well, so I think there were some opportunities.
Wow, you did it. You did a great job. That is the kind of thing I almost always would just dismiss and not consider. But I happened to be out with friends when I got the message about it. And I just said aloud, "Oh my God, I'm being told I have an opportunity to audition for this movie." And they're like, "You have to do it." And so I'm with them, and right away I just responded like, "Okay, what do I need to do?" And if I hadn't been with them, I probably would have just deleted the thing and never even looked at it again.
Yeah, why not? It's fun. You never know when you'll ever have an opportunity for that again. So why not?
I just wouldn't want the recognition, just for years from now. What did you actually do in yours?
I walked down a sidewalk, and they also needed a car parked in front of a restaurant. And they said, "Hey, we'll throw you a few more bucks." I said, "Sure." So my Mazda is sitting in an aerial shot in the movie. Yeah.
Were you playing yourself?
Yeah. I was just an extra, right? So I was walking down the sidewalk.
Yeah, you go either way on that, I guess. You could be yourself or just, slip into some other character. All right, Alex, what's the schedule day like for you, personally, professionally? We get pretty geeked for it. And, I got the Excel spreadsheet out and everything like that. NFL Nerd was my best friend yesterday. I don't know. Is that your style?
So I love it as well. Look, obviously the NFL is king. They get us so hyped up, even though we already have known the opponents and where teams are playing for months, if not a year advance in some cases as well, or more than that, based on the NFL scheduling formula. But yeah, I love it. You know, I like even the slow trickle out of information starting on Monday of the rumors. I mean, there were rumors here for probably a month that they're going to be playing that game in Brazil against the Chargers. So I enjoy it as well. You know, I think the rumors on Twitter and stuff is also part of the fun, right? I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I heard you leading into the segment here, and I'm kind of with you where it's like now, all right, we got the schedule, and it's like, okay, you know, the schedule released today is less exciting than it was just the build-up. Talking about today is not as fun, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It does feel like the start of the off season, if that makes any sense. I mean, I know that the off season is all this stuff is off season, but there's, you know, the next thing is what, mandatory minicamp. You know, we had some drama with Diggs a couple years ago, but that's usually a pretty low key thing. And then it's on to training camp. So yeah, I said my son is working here now on the morning show, Alex, and I got home from work last night and said, yep, now comes the march from here to camp. Like, get ready, get your boots on. Right?
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, look, we're a little fortunate here. Fortunately, the baseball team, the Royals, are actually playing good ball again, so we got a little bit of that. But from a football end, it slows down dramatically. You know, I'm sure you guys have been through it before with contract stuff. There's a player that is on a tag that they need to get a deal done with, but that stuff is going to probably really not heat up until late June and into July. So yeah, it definitely slows down.
How do you feel in terms of the Chiefs' schedule, really like the first half of it? Chargers, Eagles, at the Giants, primetime, Baltimore, at Jacksonville, primetime, Detroit, Vegas, Washington, Bills through Week 9. Last year, the Bills had the audacity to lose 2 games, 2 games, all the way until like almost the end, December. And it wasn't good enough. They were always chasing Kansas City. Even after beating them in the regular season, still was never enough to catch up. This year, that schedule, Alex, for Kansas City and the Bills, who start with the Ravens and then play a half dozen teams that won about a third of their games last year, this would be a year where if the Bills are going to actually do it in the regular season anyway, get the 1 seed, say, you're going to want to see them, not that you are, I'm going to want to see them get out in front.
No doubt. No, it came up on our show today, not only with the Chiefs, but we were talking about this very thing, looking at Buffalo's schedule a little bit, and I'm 100% with you. I mean, this is the year for the number 1 seed for Buffalo. I mean, it truly, if not now, then when. That schedule, some of it's your guys' division in the East, and obviously you got the NFC South, and there's not a ton of travel involved. It is all shaping up for this kind of perfect storm for the regular season to be right there for Buffalo. And I think this go around, obviously injuries play a role. We can't predict that kind of stuff, but it seems like the Chiefs will likely be trying to hunt down the Bills in terms of the 1 seed as the season progresses versus, you know, towards the end of last season that obviously the Chiefs then kind of found themselves in the driver's seat after that Rams week and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I look at Kansas City's first 9 games because their bye week is 10, and it is a stretch where 7-2 you would take in a heartbeat, I think. Even though Chiefs fans saw them win 15 games last year, I mean, I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen again. Not with this schedule. That's crazy. I even think if you told me they were 6-3, but 2 of the 3 losses were to an NFC team, you know, they lose, let's say, to Philly or the Commanders, but you got to win against a division opponent in the Chargers and, let's say, Baltimore as far as an AFC team, I think you would take it. I mean, it is a really, really brutal first 9 to 10 weeks of the season, and then I do think the back half for the Chiefs is very favorable, assuming these teams are kind of who we think they are.
The Bills travel something like 10,000 miles this year. The Bengals are the only team with fewer. The Chiefs will travel more than half that in Week 1.
Yeah,
5,300 miles to Sao Paulo.
And I get it. A lot of like if you don't play the international games, it's going to help your mileage and all that. And the Chiefs, you know, they go to Vegas. They have to, you know, typically they would go to LA instead. They're going to Brazil. You know, the mileage stuff is a real thing. I think for Buffalo, though, I mean, the way it shapes up, I mean, this, I don't know where you guys are at in the overall win-loss stuff for the first 10 weeks or so of the season for Buffalo, but I just don't know if you're Buffalo, how you don't sit there and think that it's going into the Chiefs game, that it's not a 6, or I guess it'd be 7-1. Or 7-0, I'm sorry, or 6-1 start to the year.
Right? Yeah, it really does feel like an opportunity here, and like Mike mentions Brazil. I was worried the Bills were going to get something. Ireland, holiday, they got really none of it, and I know that's a sign of respect. And we want the primetime games because it means your team is great and a contender and all that, but. This is as smooth a round of golf as you could be looking at here, I think, for a team that's as prominent as the Bills are.
Right, yeah, no question. And here the conversation is definitely about, the Chiefs have 7 primetime games, 8 standalone games. Once again, they're on Christmas, and this go-around they're on Thanksgiving. And, that's been a huge discussion here. A lot of fans are excited for it. There's also a bunch of fans that are annoyed with the fact that they keep getting these holidays after last year also getting stuck with Christmas as well. But their ownership, Clark Hunt, wants to be on Christmas. He's made it a point to tell the NFL, hey, we want to become the team that plays on Christmas. I think Christmas night is a little bit easier for people with family obligations than playing in the middle of Christmas Day. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving, the Cowboys game, I think they could have put that game any portion of the season. It would have rated well, but hearing Mike North today of broadcasting VP for the NFL, it sounds like they're going all in on Thanksgiving. They think there's a chance Cowboys-Chiefs, they can set the record for most watched regular season NFL game in NFL history. They even float out the idea of trying to get Taylor Swift involved with the national anthem.
I saw that, yeah.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I think people are just a little annoyed with the holiday thing, even though, as you said, it was not that long ago, believe it or not, 10, 15 years ago, where Chiefs fans, much like I'm sure Bills fans, you were just like, man, how come we only have one primetime game? We don't have more than one, and everybody was bent out of shape about it, and now, we've been spoiled.
Yeah, we went many years here, Alex, where we just got like the obligatory Thursday night game that that everybody got, like the bad teams got, and like that was it. So yeah, I mean you got to live with it. Are you surprised at all that they got Christmas? Because I remember the Chiefs saying they wanted to be like the Lions or the Cowboys of Christmas, and I thought the commissioner sort of smacked that back, like no, we're not going to do that, and here it is right away this year, Christmas again.
Exactly. No, that's the very discussion we had, too, that the NFL acted like, oh, no, we're going to rotate this around. Now, does that mean that when Mahomes is not around anymore, they're saying we're not going to put you guys on there anymore? We're going to ride this thing out as long as possible? I mean, at this point, nothing should surprise us when it comes to the Chiefs' schedule in terms of holidays and any new windows, any new TV partners. I expect the Chiefs to be on those. The only platform now they don't really have a TV deal with is Apple TV at this point. Other than that, they got everybody else locked up. So let's say next year they have some new window with Apple TV. My guess is the Chiefs will be on that. But Clark Hunt, the Chiefs owner, wants Christmas. He also is a big fan of international games. I think he still is on the international committee. So the way the Week 1 game, even against the Chargers, came to be, the Chargers were for it. The Chiefs were for it because it's Week 1, so they have the time ahead of it. They're not going to really screw over their schedule too much by playing there. And they think there's a huge opportunity, of course, and there is, playing internationally. I think the Chargers are smart for doing that because the Chiefs, frankly, haven't lost at SoFi, and Chiefs fans, much like Bills fans, kind of taken over some of these stadiums out in L.A. or Vegas. And so the Chargers might have a better chance at winning a neutral site game in Brazil, honestly.
Just got to hope the field isn't in shambles.
Wow, that's the thing, man. I know. That's the
fade
thing.
That. Alex Gold, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, Mike Schopp and the Bulldogs, to the point about, recognition by the primetime schedule. 2019, an Allen team. He'd already been here for a year. The schedule came out, and the Bills had 0 night games. They had a Thanksgiving date in Dallas. Late in the season, they had a game flexed to 4:30. But that's the best they could do. They never played a night game that year, and that was the first of the string of playoff teams that they've had. How about, Alex, the offseason in Kansas City overall? Some of the charts are not too flattering about, the pluses and minuses with roster changes to the Chiefs. Of course, like the Bills, they draft late, so you can only do so well. How do you feel? How do you think the consensus sounds about the Chiefs and their changes?
I think they've made it very clear they think, at least that the offensive side and the wide receiver position group, that last year the issues they had offensively, at least with that group, was injuries. They're banking on the fact that the wide receiver room, the plan to have Hollywood Brown and Worthy and Rice, that was still the right plan, but they didn't stay healthy. And it's a big risk they're taking. But they're saying, no, that's why the offense wasn't explosive. We didn't have all three of those guys on the field together playing at that high level. And so that's basically their actions have shown they believe that, because they didn't go out offensively from a skill position perspective and really do anything. You know, I was not thrilled. I'm fine with the wide receiver plan. I wasn't thrilled with how they addressed running back. You know, Pacheco's going to be back and healthy. I think he'll have a nice year, but I don't think they should have brought Kareem Hunt back. I think they should have spent a higher draft pick on a running back. I'm not thrilled that they waited till the 7th round to do so. I don't think they have a ton of explosiveness there. That concerns me. And then the big question, and I'm sure you guys are well aware of it, is the left tackle spot, where last year it was a mess. They still won 15 games, but it was a mess. And they rolled the dice in the first round, and I agree with the pick, but it's a dice roll, and that is Josh Simmons, the tackle out of Ohio State, who everybody kind of agrees that if it wasn't for the patellar tendon injury that he suffered at Ohio State in October, he would have been probably a top 15, maybe even a top 10 pick. And so they claim he'll be ready for training camp. I am very skeptical that he doesn't start the season still on the PUP list. So I think it's more about 2026 with him. But they have had 5 different left tackles start in the 5 Super Bowls they've appeared in. They've got to get that solved. That's why they swung for Simmons. If he doesn't play week 1, then it'll be Jalen Moore, who is the former Steelers, or former 49ers, I'm sorry, left tackle, who was backing up Trent Williams. And that'll be the move for them at left tackle. And the question there is, you know, was he just a backup because he had Trent Williams in front of him, or was he the left tackle as a backup because he's just not good enough to be a starter? And so there's questions. That's the biggest question. But I think they're better on the defensive side of the ball in the secondary. I will say I think it's key for them to go and get Christian Fulton, the former Chargers corner, who is going to allow Trent McDuffie to move back inside in the slot where he's a much better corner. So I actually think they upgraded the cornerback position. But the offensive line, left tackle in particular, is going to be the biggest swing, and I think we'll know in the first month of the season whether it's Simmons or Moore, whether or not they've kind of solved that problem.
Alex, how much of a handle do you have on what could be coming for Rice as it pertains to the legal stuff? The most I've heard most recently was that it could go another offseason before the courts get around to it, so he might be in the clear for this season. Does that line up with what you're thinking is going on right now? It
is more likely that he doesn't get suspended this year. Not that he'll never get suspended, but as you were saying, that the legal system is really dragging its feet. You know, I think some of that's by design. He hired basically an attorney that's, I think, listed as the 5th most influential person in the state of Texas. He's a state senator. He's Jerry Jones' attorney. Like, I mean, this guy's the real deal. I think this is going to drag on longer. The civil side of it, I believe, is going to get addressed in the next month or two, but that's not the criminal side. And we know the NFL, while they'll do their own investigation, they usually wait nowadays for the legal side to wrap up. So I think there's a real possibility that this is a 2026 suspension. If it is this year, though, as time has gone on, even though there's video evidence, I think it's more and more likely it's not the 6 or 8 game variety. I think we're looking at 4 or less, if I were to guess, on what the suspension would be if, in fact, that happens this year.
The rookies, you talked about some of it, Alex. Running back, I might agree with you about, drafting a running back earlier. Brashard Smith is an interesting prospect, though. It was a year, as I see it, where a lot of really athletic running backs did wait well into Saturday or even went undrafted. I don't know if Martinez ever got picked. I mean, there were a couple of guys that I thought I would have liked for the Bills, even by the 7th round. So Brashard Smith and then Jalen Royals. There was a little bit of a flap here involving the Bills GM about, criticism that they don't do more at wide receiver or didn't. And for me, that's simply round 4, and Royals is the name. Like that, maybe he needed to go to Kansas City because his name is Royals. But 4th round, that was a player that interested me, and the Bills ended up going defense again. How about their 2 rookie skill guys?
Yeah, Royals Chiefs jersey is already very popular, as you can imagine, in Kansas City. Look, Jalen Royals, I think, I know there's been comps to Rashee Rice. I think that's a bit optimistic. We'll see. I think what's nice about him, frankly, is what it means for some other guys. And what I mean by that is I think after training camp, the Sky Moore experiment will finally be over. And that was a disastrous pick a couple years ago. I understand he came up with a catch in the Super Bowl, but still, it was not a good pick. It means that some other guys on the depth chart will get pushed back or not make the team. I think he's potentially somebody to certainly watch. What's the rookie year look like for him? We were given the comps to a wide receiver like DeMarcus Robinson. If I told you that former Chiefs, now Rams wide receiver, wherever he's at now, if you had those kind of numbers, would you take it? And I think I would, and I think Chiefs fans would in a heartbeat. There's definitely some real excitement about what he could develop into. As far as Smith, this is fun. I don't know if you guys deal with this in Buffalo. Anytime there's a late-round draft pick, social media, Chiefs Twitter, text line on the show, they love these guys that to the point where there'll be one great play at training camp and people start acting like he's going to be a future Hall of Famer, and it's unbelievable at times. But so look, it's not even so much Smith that I don't think he's got some obviously talent and there's some intrigue there. It's just I don't think when you look at their running back room right now, while nobody is under contract past this year other than, I guess, Smith now when he signs it, Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, they're all in one-year deals. Elijah Mitchell they brought in. I think it's a very crowded running back room, and it doesn't really excite you. I think Pacheco will clearly be the number one running back. And Rashard Smith, if he can pick up pass protection, I think he's got some opportunities on third down to maybe be a Jerick McKinnon type for them for this season. But the pick itself, just because they found a seventh rounder in Isaiah Pacheco a couple years ago, there's a lot of fans here that think, well, because they found Pacheco, it's totally fine they waited till the seventh round, as if now they are the seventh round running back whisperer because one time it worked.
They've got the secret sauce. Yeah, right.
Yeah. And he's good. He's good.
Absolutely.
But I think you want to see the Tony Pollard run out here for Pacheco, where Pollard was very popular, efficient runner, and then he broke his leg. And the next year he was not. He was not the same for Dallas, and we know this because we were all drafting him in the second round. But he was not the same for Dallas. Then, last year, more like we were used to with Tennessee. So maybe you get that sort of a return to form from Pacheco, who, Alex, end of last year, was just not anything.
No, and I do think a full offseason recovery. I do think some people have written him off a little too quick. I actually think he'll have a nice season. But again, he's never been a 1,000-yard back. He was very close, but he's never been a 1,000-yard back. And I think this offense, they need more explosiveness. And I thought an area that they could have found it was running back. It's honestly, it's like my biggest gripe of the entire offseason, but that's nitpicking a little bit. We'll see what happens.
It's good to have one. it's good to have one thing to complain about. That's the receiver stuff around here, I think. What else is there to pick at?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Alex. Nice of you to make time for us, as always.
Oh, for sure, guys. Appreciate it. Good talking to you guys.
All right, same. Alex Gold, 96.5, The Fan in Kansas City. You'll hear him on the Bet MGM network from time to time as well. 803-0550 for your calls. How about the Caleb Williams story today? Man, what would we do if our quarterback prodigy had it let it be known that he didn't want to play for us? We've had bouts of this over the years. More of a Sabres thing, maybe. But that can't feel good in Chicago today. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. Lines are open for you. This is WGR.
Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore spoke with the media today and said he has been cleared for football activities. He also hopes to be ready for Week 1. Barmore missed all of 2024 due to blood clots. 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup Finals, both Game 5s. Washington hosts Carolina at 7. The Stars are in Winnipeg versus the Jets at 9:30. Dallas and Carolina are the teams who can advance tonight with a win. We have just one game in the NBA. It is Game 6 of Thunder and the Nuggets. It is in Denver at 8:30. Oklahoma City is the team that can advance with a win. And then in baseball, it is reverse retro night for the Bisons. They host the Woo Sox just after 6 o'clock, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I see this as what a great opportunity we have to do something that really has never been done. There hasn't been a 4,000-yard passer here in this franchise, and I think Caleb's going to be the first one of many years, many seasons to come where he's able to accomplish that feat. So I see a chance for greatness here for him. He's been communicated that way, and he feels the same way. I don't know what's gone on prior to him joining the organization, but he is very proud to be a Chicago Bear. That's what our conversations have included, and he's really excited to get to work right now and be the best version of himself for 2025.
That's the new Bears coach, Ben Johnson. He's laying it on pretty thick. Today's news is that in a book, it's revealed Caleb Williams, his dad, talked about how they wanted to play for Minnesota, and they don't. Ross Tucker had a line worse than the knowledge that he wanted to play for Minnesota is that his father is out there saying it. Like just
100%.
Right?
100%. I thought I was going to quote tweet Ross and then I ran out of time. That was my first thought too. Sure, you've got a kid that's that level of athlete. There's going to be stuff you're doing behind the scenes. Like you want the best situation for your kid. Anyone would. You do not need to open those windows for everyone. You just don't. He's where he is now. So you get nothing. I'm struggling to comprehend the motivation to share this information. To write a good book. I mean, I appreciate a good book, but what are you doing? You don't need that information out there. Keep that to yourself. You know, if you don't want a team to draft you because you don't like the cut of the front office or the coaching staff or whatever it is, and you're contemplating trying to upend the hierarchy or something, right? Let's try to wreck the draft, lawsuit or whatever. Again, I'm not judging you for having those concerns and even talking it all through and exploring options. I just don't understand what good comes of it from your end by putting that in a book now. I just think it makes the kid look like, and the dad look like, the dad looks very manipulative, and it portrays the kid as, I'm great already. And I don't want you showing up thinking you're, you should have some confidence, yes, but you have not accomplished anything yet. So to be considering where, I don't want to go here, I want to go there. Again, behind closed doors, one thing. I think everyone does that has a high-profile kid as an athlete. Whether it's college, amateur hockey, that stuff goes on. I would have had those concerns. We had conversations about stuff like that. But I don't think once you're in the pros and the team has drafted you, you get anything out of letting the world know you had those concerns originally, because you're where you are now. The lot is drawn. Well, I mean, what percentage of players are going to get their number one landing spot? I mean, it's pretty rare. There were these kind of questions about Caleb Williams, just entitlement, different things. There were people who had doubts about him in this area. Here you got the head coach doing Colin Cowherd, it was, talking about, it doesn't sound right to me. He loves it here. I'd want to have Williams speak for himself on that, and maybe he kind of just did. But it's almost like you're making an excuse before it's even gone bad yet. Like you're just sort of
revealing, if this doesn't go well, it's not my fault. It's just the situation is so unfortunate for me. And Minnesota looks kind of like the opposite, and it still does. I mean, the Darnold year last year is pretty impressive. If that were us, I mean, it would be on fire.
Oh, yeah.
And there'd be so many people who would want to make excuses for it. Like, just give the guy a chance. It was his dad. It was this time, a lot of time ago. There's a new coach now. They'd want to try to put the fire out. There'd be the phone lines would be jammed with fans who would just like, please don't let this get away from us. It's been one season. He's got a new coach that everybody wanted, the best offensive coordinator get out there, a first-round pick at tight end, an early second at receiver, Odunze and DJ Moore before that. Can we just hold on until September? Can we just make it to September? And that would be the first day. And then the second day would be like, do we not bring this up ever again? No, we bring this back up.
Every day.
And kind of, maybe a lot, because that would be like a huge story. Mm-hmm. And, you just have a lot of people would want to have the story, just forgotten about. And then others would be like, yeah, this actually is a problem. This was, on some level, Mario, when there was a story about him that he wanted to go to Indianapolis or Chicago. I think it was one of the two that he was sort of hoping to end up there, but he got here and they made the deal with him. And then you had, I'm not sure of the timeline, but maybe even before he played a game for the Bills, the Rodney Harrison comment. He might have already been playing, but Harrison's comment about him, like, if you wanted to win, why would you go there? Which, fair point.
Yep.
And I don't know how much, like, sort of, we didn't, light fires over that stuff. Partly because, I think my attitude about it is people really don't want to talk about it because Buffalo has that, or used to at least.
Right.
Buffalo has that.
We're already so worried about it.
That's the Sabres.
To begin with, yeah.
The Sabres have managed to be a franchise that sits in a terrific hockey locale. I mean, I don't need to tell you this, of course, but when it's good, it's really good. And, players want that. That's a lot of places now. Places like Florida were not this back then, and they kind of are now. It is, of course, tied to winning. But still, like, the Sabres have managed to have this kind of setup and completely just, blow it and become a team that, even though you grew up an hour away, you don't want to play for. I mean, just that alone. Of course, I'm, broad brush here, but they themselves talk about how challenging it is.
Sure.
And if they were in Utah, okay, well, I'll listen to how maybe players don't want to relocate to Utah, so far from everything. Some would, but the Sabres are like where they are and still have that challenge. The taxes, weather, okay, but still, like, it's such a great hockey point on the map.
Yeah,
tradition.
We are a long way away from Daniel Briere getting off an airplane and saying it smells like hockey here. Which, he'd come from Arizona, which is about as far on the spectrum opposite of what we are here. But that was, I remember that. It was one of those moments, we always want. And I don't think that this has changed just because the Bills are good now. The Sabres point probably helps even it out. But we always want the guys to want to like us. We're going to love you almost no matter what, right? But we want some sign, something that we can hold on to that, like, you're happy to be here. And it's not just because they put the extra zero on the contract or whatever it is. So, like, Briere shows up and says that, and, like, right away, I mean, he would have been beloved, I think, no matter what. But stuff like that helps at the flashpoint when you're first getting to know the player. It matters what kind of impression you make. This stuff now with this book is absolutely, if this was going on here and the quarterback in question is struggling going into year 2, even with the fancy new coach, this stuff is held against him for life. Every bad game every bad pass he ever throws. some fans, not everyone, some fans, maybe some people in media as well, are going to be armed and loaded with this. It's just not. It's not necessary to put it out there. Were they contractually obligated to share this information with this author?
They couldn't help themselves.
Yeah, I just don't It's just so misguided.
Because
I think
it was a terrible rookie season, really, and the Heat is not nothing at this point. Even though he's a rookie and people are optimistic for him, mostly it's that you can hear it, you can read it. They host Minnesota, of all teams, on Monday night in week 1. He'll get booed if he doesn't play well. He'll get booed.
Yeah.
And that's another example. Like, some fans will boo him, and the other fans will be mad at the fans who are booing him.
Right, you're making it worse.
You're making it worse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
we'll see what he can do before that to put this fire out, if anything. He's not going to disown it, but he's got to say, what I said. Not everybody gets what they want, but I'm happy here. I'll mature, whatever.
Well, it helps that it's different now.
That's right.
Right? The organization was the central problem within that. And all those people, well, the GM isn't different, right? But still, the coach has changed. And so, you do have that, he can always say, like, well, yeah, that was then. This is now. I like my coach and all of it. It's still
watch McCarthy go in there and outplay him.
Just would not want to be, man. It's just I cannot get my head around the motivation.
The fantasy community is really into Caleb Williams. Like, they're basically giving him a pass. Most people are giving him a pass for last year. Like, one guy who isn't is a guy named Denny Carter, who I really like, Roto-World, and it's like a bit now. His telling you how bad Caleb Williams is. Just like the sacks that he took and all the metrics on him are really bad. But for the most part, I think people just kind of ignore it because of the conditions, And like, I can hear Denny saying it. Go ahead and ignore it if you want. They talked about it last year as the best setup a quarterback has ever had, who was drafted
pick.
first.
Right. Yep.
Mord, Odunze, and Keenan Allen. Like,
right, this wasn't a 3-win. It wasn't a 3-win team. They had the pick from a trade.
That's right too. You couldn't ask for a better landing spot than the Chicago Bears last year. He was terrible, and people are like, so. Fingers are crossed on that one, because I tend to go with that crowd. I know I have plenty of Caleb Williams. Get it right, buddy. 803-0550 is the number. Minnesota at Chicago. Yesterday I said that game was a downer for me. I thought about it. Week 1, Monday night, as excited as you get for the openers, and really, do I want that? But it's better today.
Yes.
It's better today because of this story. Sal's coming on at 5. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR. is always so much fun.
It's the best.
And it doesn't, I think, even matter which side you're on.
No, definitely doesn't.
It's the same.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like an idiot watching the PGA. I've got my 10 guys against you and Brian, and every shot matters to me. Every player, every shot. Even if they're just nobody. They hit a fairway. For some reason, they're showing a guy who's 4 over, make a 50-footer or something, and I'm just ticked. Like, come on. Is that guy going to win the PGA championship? Probably not. Here's Morikawa, who I did not take, and he's in the bunker maybe, and I'm elated.
Right. Good.
Just
right.
First round, 13th hole.
Right. I sat down to start watching this, and I texted you because I did not make a note of your picks, and I knew some of them, but I did not know the lot of it. And I want to know the whole thing.
Right. You got to know everybody.
I want to wring every ounce of enjoyment out of the sponge here while I'm watching this, even for just an hour before I come to work. And I want to know who I should be rooting for. So I need to know if I'm going to be happy about a guy making a good shot on Thursday morning. But that's what that bet does.
Yeah, I love it. Not in the greatest shape. At the Masters, it didn't end up as a runaway because of Rose, who got to a playoff there with McIlroy. But for most of the week, as I remember it, it was like you had it locked up. It was all like you were always in the lead. You had Scheffler, like you had guys right there
Rory
on top.
and Bryce. Yeah, I was all set. Rose was a wrench.
Rose almost got you.
Yeah.
But so it wasn't like, it wasn't that close, I guess, for most of the tournament. It got close. Only on like the 72nd hole did it really.
Right.
McIlroy missing and Rose with a long putt before that. I love the pick 10. Feel free to steal it. You and somebody else, in this case it's 1 against 2, doesn't matter. Just establish a wager, an amount. One person. It's always interesting to me to think about, like, intuitively, which side would you rather be on? I'll give you 10, any 10 you want. You just have to find the winner. Should you win? Should you expect to win that way? I never know. I don't exactly feel like I should expect to win. I picked the top 4 or 5 guys yesterday as it happens. I never feel like I should win. It's always close to me.
I think it was a very good adjustment that we made a few years back to have the tiers.
Yeah.
Because that matters a lot, I think.
Take a bigger risk, win a little bit more.
Right, yeah. If anybody's thinking about doing this, top 3 in the odds pay like half a unit, 4 through 20 pay a full, and then anyone outside of the top 20 in the odds get paid double.
And that's tweakable. There's nothing scientific about that. We just put numbers on it. Here's Paul with us. Hi, Paul.
Hi, is this Paul from Richmond?
Yeah, it's you, Paul. Well, you would know better than us.
Yeah, okay. No worries. Hey, Chris, I'm one of these knuckleheads you talked about yesterday, the guys who drive long distances almost every game. I'm in Richmond.
Awesome.
And let me tell you, the schedule, it's great for everybody else. 4 out of 5 at home. I'm married, man. One of those has got to go. And the thing I hate about the end, I'd say it's the same scenario as last year. I mean, I think it's a 2 seed. You got 2 in a row at home. You got the wild card the next week and divisional round the next week. And let's say they get another thing. You're talking 5 games in a row. It's brutal. So for us guys coming from long distance, it's going to be a marriage or Bills games 5 in a row. It's going to be a tough one.
Well, thoughts and prayers. I mean, I hope we have the problem to deal with. I hope they get nothing but home. Maybe not 5 in a row, no wild card game, but get the 1 seed, and then you'll get a little buffer there, and maybe that'll save your marriage. We're rooting for you.
I can appreciate this. The first 4 home games, 3 are at night. One's a Thursday. The other 2 are Sunday nights. Still, like, school nights.
Yep.
Well, property is relatively affordable up here. Just, to get you through another season, maybe. Rent a place just for, Bills weekends. I don't know. Good luck. Sal Capaccio next here on WGR.
NFL owners will be getting together next week for the league meetings. One of the topics up for discussion is a resolution that would allow NFL players to participate in the Olympics, which is set to include flag football for the first time in 2028. If this were to go through, no more than one player for each team can participate. Also got some good news for Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore. He spoke with the media today and did say he was cleared for football activities and hopes to be ready for Week 1. Barmore's 2024 season was cut short due to blood clots. And yesterday, we got the 2025 NFL schedule. And for more on all of this, stay tuned as Sal Capaccio will join the show next. 2 Game 5s tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Washington hosts Carolina at 7, and the Stars are in Winnipeg. They take on the Jets at 9:30. Dallas and Carolina are the teams who can advance tonight with a win. Then one game in the NBA. It is Game 6 of Thunder and Denver. It is in Denver at 8:30, but Oklahoma City is the team that can advance tonight with a win. Day 1 of the PGA Championship, it is underway at Quail Hollow. The current leader is Cam Davis at 6 under. We're going to get more on today when Brian Koziel joins the show at 6 p.m. And in baseball, it is reverse retro night for the Bisons. They do host the Woo Sox just after 6, and that game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I can't say I've ever thought about putting a flag football team for the Olympics together before.
Same.
How that would play out. If you have players from different countries, maybe one parent is from another country, and they would want to put a team together. I don't know if, like, France has a bunch of flag football stars just waiting to come together for international competition. If not,
they've been playing together all this time. And the Americans are going to throw some team together. They're not going to know each other. They're going to have any chemistry. You're going to be really in tough.
Like the Dream Team.
Right.
Which won every game by 50.
Sure. Yep.
The only thing that could take him down was ego, and it didn't exactly happen. Sal Capaccio with us on the West Her Hotline. Have you sat with this one yet, Sal? The possibility of NFL stars coming together to play flag football in the Olympics?
Yeah, I was thinking about like who I'd put on the team, but there are some rules here. Apparently, only one player under contract with every NFL team would be allowed. Each team could only allow one player from their team to play. So you can't have, the same quarterback and receiver from any team. You can't have Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, for example, or Josh Allen and James Cook. It can only be one player from every team. So that's interesting. I think they're timing it with the 2028 Olympics in L.A., and giving it the go-ahead because it just makes it easier having it in your own country. You're a little bit more control, I guess, in that manner. But I wouldn't be surprised if this goes forward even after that.
Yes. Well, something to think about. Could be fun.
I wonder how eager NFL teams are going to be to have their guys participate in that. I'm thinking of Robert Edwards, running back with New England, who suffered a devastating knee injury playing football on a beach somewhere during the Pro Bowl or something.
Right. Well, in the resolution that is put out to NFL teams, it says one of the rules governing the rules says it will provide appropriate injury protection and salary cap credit for any NFL player who is injured while authorized to participate in flag football activities related. Now, that still doesn't take away the point you're making, which is, okay, great, we still lost a star player.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. But yes, I agree with you. But obviously they have to think about that, and it's interesting because some guys are gonna be like, I'm not gonna do that. Like, I don't want to be subject to that. And then teams might be like, well, we don't really want our guys. But what if someone comes in and says, I really want to do this, and you need to let me do this?
Could be something we end up talking about quite a bit. The schedule was what we talked about quite a bit yesterday and have for a long time. When we talked with you yesterday at this time, you pointed out how after the opener, the Bills play 6 teams in a row that had losing seasons last year and have a great opportunity, you would think, to get off to a great start. Let's talk about the opener by itself here today, at least now. How do you feel about Baltimore, competitively, we've certainly seen these teams play very recently, two Bills games ago, of course, in the playoffs. What is there maybe to analyze here in terms of these teams playing each other in week one? Is that good for one team and not the other, maybe, or anything like that?
I think you probably twist yourself up trying to make it one or the other, Mike, to be honest with you. There's probably pros and cons of both here, right? I think if you want to go, positive from the Bills side, this is a team it's different than most teams. It's a unique type of team, right? The way that they run their offense, the type of versatility they have running the ball with Derrick Henry and obviously Lamar Jackson as an MVP and throwing the ball and running the ball. So you don't get them on a short week, and in fact, not even a regular week. You literally have months to prepare for them. Like the Bills can get in the lab and they can prepare for that type of offense over quite a bit of time, and I think that's a benefit to the Bills. What hurts the Bills here would be, you just revamped your defense, and part of that was Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi, who are really going to be counted on to help against the run. Well, guess what? They're not going to be available for this game, right? If there's one team on the schedule you'd probably want them available for, it might be this game, and they're not going to be, and it's going to be right out of the chute. So I think from those standpoints, you could probably twist yourself up trying to justify why it's better or worse for either team. Obviously, weather last year, we talked a lot about that. Lamar hadn't played in the cold, a certain amount of cold conditions. He was fine. So, weather's not going to factor in this environment. Both teams have done that. The Ravens have gone on the road in hostile environments. Heck, they were a Isaiah Likely toenail away from beating the Chiefs in the opener last year at Kansas City. So it's not like they're foreign to this.
And you said the right thing first. Like we'll come up with all different sort of angles to this game, and maybe there's really not a lot of meat there. But Henry, I mean, I'm so as a fantasy player, I'm always betting against Derrick Henry. How has that gone, Mike? I mean, betting against Derrick Henry. But week one,
narrator, not well.
You'd expect him to be healthy and fresh week one, whereas maybe not. Maybe this is the year where that changes eventually.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. I thought about that too, which is, as the year goes on, we'd think he would slow down, but that hasn't been the case because the guy just doesn't slow down, right? He's been great. But, if you're going to get that, maybe that's what you wind up thinking about. And the other hand too, it's a type of offense and type of team that maybe they do need to get it going a little bit as they go and some changes on the offensive side. So, yeah, I think you could look at a lot of ways. The Bills are going to have most of their offense intact, right? There's very little changes. From that standpoint, I think early in the season, I would expect the Bills to come out of the gate. Now, not necessarily maybe midseason form, but, there's not a lot of trying to get on the same page with new parts, new coordinator, new players. It's really literally Mac Hollins and Amari Cooper are out, and in comes Josh Palmer. That's it. Like everything else is pretty much the same for the Bills.
Yeah. So I'm pleased that this didn't happen. But are you at all surprised that the Bills managed to dodge all the holiday, Peacock, Europe? Like it feels like they got a pretty straightforward right. Sure, there's 7 out of 10 on the road and 4 out of 5 within that. So I mean, there's challenges, but from a logistical standpoint and a travel standpoint, man, I feel like the Bills got about as favorable a schedule as a contending level team with the defending MVP on it could possibly get. 5 standalone games. It's not, the Chiefs have 8, the Cowboys have 7 or 8. I think
the Dolphins have more than the Bills.
I think the Bills got off pretty easy, I think, in that department.
Yeah, I think if you want to look at it from the competitive standpoint, I agree. I think that their schedule, we've known the opponents for a while, but as you made the point, maybe the other day, Bulldog, maybe not even thinking about how that their road schedule hasn't really been that daunting, even knowing it over the last several months. We don't think about it because we think about those and talk about those 4 big home games. That being said, so it doesn't really matter when you're going to put them in a spot. It's games that they should be able to handle. As far as the holidays are concerned, absolutely I'm surprised. I mean, I went up until maybe a couple of weeks ago thinking, they're still going to get a game. They're going to get a Christmas or a Black Friday or a Thanksgiving night game. And if not, then they're certainly getting that Peacock game on Saturday, week 17. None of that happened. And I just think about how the league is featuring the Bills and why that isn't. And I've had people tell me, we did a podcast last night, Always Game Day in Buffalo. We were live and people were in the chat box, like the bullpen here. And then I've had people tweet me as well with the point about the Dolphins, which is, look at the Dolphins. They have as many or more of these games than the Bills. And taking it as some disrespect for the Bills. I wouldn't do that because here's why.
Right.
No. I think it is a lot for the Dolphins. Okay, I think that's number one. That is true. Like, I didn't expect the Dolphins to get that. But I think what's really happened here is I think the league has shown you now, and they've been talking about this, that 4:25 p.m. window is massive. And that's really where they placed the Bills a lot of this year. They have 4 of those games, especially later in the year. It's primetime heavy loaded early. It's 4:25 p.m. heavy loaded late. You go to the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, granted, they don't have as many opportunities for these 4:25 games, but they have 4 or 5 themselves, right? I mean, this is the treatment you get. It's the 4:25 national window game. So yes, I agree with you. They kind of dodged all that. I was a little surprised, but when you step back and look at the time of the games, it's really the avoiding the 1 p.m. starts, which is, I guess you want to say where you put the irrelevancy, which isn't the right term, right? But that's how you kind of think of it with a lot of these teams now.
Is there any additional theory you would posit about it? I mean, you talk to the guy who basically puts this all together, fairly frequently. It does come as a surprise to you we sort of defer to you on this, and I would say I was surprised too. Even with the 4:25 point, is there some other reason why you think maybe no Christmas, the Peacock game, what else? I mean, they've been on Thanksgiving. Is there anything more to say about it?
I don't think so, Mike. I think this just really comes maybe down to math, right? There's only so many teams you can put in those windows. There's a lot of teams you want to highlight. And the Bills kind of fit anywhere. They can put them anywhere. You don't need them on those nights to watch, right? You can put a lot of teams on those games. I mean, the Thanksgiving night game is Bengals-Ravens. That's a really good game. Mm-hmm. I think, judging by what Mike North has said and the ratings, I think, the Bills are maybe a team that could draw more viewers, but whatever. You're splitting hairs here probably between all those teams. What is the Christmas night game again? They
Denver,
went with
Kansas
Broncos,
City.
Chiefs, right? Yeah. You go Broncos, Chiefs. Then you go to Christmas Day and look at some of those games. You don't have to put the Bills on in those games for people to watch them. You're going to get some big names anyway. I think it really just comes down to math. I think it's, hey, we got a lot of teams to put in there, and we really want to keep the Bills on. I'll tell you one theory, too, that does help here. I think spreading around the Bills on the networks, now that I think about it, it's because here's one part of it. That Bengals-Bills game is on Fox, right? That's kind of weird.
Oh, it is?
Bengals-Bills on Fox.
Yeah, I just saw that.
Right? Like,
yeah.
I do think, judging by things that Mike North has said over the years, like, they want to try to keep their network partners happy, right? And yeah, it's never going to go perfectly. They're going to do them a make good at some point. Hey, I know we gave you this team, didn't give you them for a couple years, didn't give you that matchup. We're going to do it next year. If I look at where the Bills are placed, I think the networks might be the key here. They're on all these different networks, including Fox 425, including CBS 425, including Monday Night Football, including Sunday Night Football, and Prime and Amazon.
Where do you guys go, by the way, for like the weekly schedules with the networks? Right now I'm at the NFL.com has a link to it. I'm looking at that. But I'm using that chart from yesterday, and Pro Football Reference I don't think would have that yet. Eventually.
ESPN.com's copy of the schedule has the TV providers along with the. So
okay.
That I always have that open.
I wonder what that's about.
If I want to know what network each game is on, I usually go to NFL.com and look at. That's not my preferred way to just look at the normal schedule. Like, I go to a media site that we all use sometimes that we have access to in the media, and it really gives me a lot of stuff I need, and that's what I use. But if I want to, that doesn't have networks. If I want networks, I go to NFL.com and I look there, or I go to the 506 Sports page early in the week when they have all the network map on which games are going where.
The Philadelphia game is on PBS. Are we sure that's safe? Are we sure that's safe? I hope
there's a misprint.
Shuffle some papers.
Certainly
here.
hope that remains safe.
That doesn't sound right. No.
Certainly hope that remains safe.
That is odd that the Bengal game is
I hate it.
Is a Fox game.
I hate it. Ever since they started screwing with it was always AFC, the road team. You knew the network based on which conference the road team was from, and now it just could be anything, and just too much work. Too much work.
Right.
Well, Sal, what's the goal? The 1 seed? Like, will that be?
Yeah.
That has to be in the window with this schedule for them. I mean, I think, and looking at what the Chiefs are dealt too. I mean, we know that they had a season where they went 15-2 and could have even been 16-1 if they tried, if they needed to in their finale. But man, I feel the way this lines up here that it's as good a look. I feel like the league has done the Bills as much of a solid as you could ask for, with the point I just made about avoiding all the, the holiday stuff in Europe, and the travel is so comfortable this year. It just feels to me like there's no excuse. If everything stays on track health-wise, this should be a year where you've got the best opportunity you're going to have, I think, to win the 1 seed.
Agreed. I agree with you. I think this lines up. I mean, you got to make this happen. If they're not in a 12-13 win spot, at least I think, right towards the end of the year, then something went wrong. They have a clear ability to do that. I mean, they are, as of right now, projected to be favored in every game this season, as you guys have noted. Those things can change, obviously. There are some games in there where it's going to be maybe a coin flip when it comes down to it. Maybe the Ravens game, maybe the Chiefs game. We'll see when it's all said and done. But they have this opportunity. Emmanuel Acho today, who I know he can be a little bit of a hot takey. I get it. And last year he said, look into the camera, Bills fans, this is going to be a step back year, and you're going to be not as good. And I know, and that drew a lot of eyeballs, and at the end of the year they used it. But today, here's the guy who said that, and today he went on and said, this is not only set up for the Bills to get the 1 seed, it's set up for Josh Allen to win the MVP again. Right? Like, it is right there. And I agree with that. I think that looking at everything, I mean, you take the quarterbacks, and he made the quarterbacks point, and it's right. Now you have some guys who've done some nice things in the league, but if you take the early season quarterbacks that the Bills are facing, it's not the most daunting task in the world, to be quite honest with you. Right? They're facing young guys who are trying to find their way again, and Justin Fields, who haven't really hit, Bryce Young, who was benched and coming back. Who knows what New Orleans have? Yes, I like Drake May. He's also been in the league for 1 year. Like, you have a lot here that you can lean on and say, I really like the Bills to do some damage and get to where this thing needs to be at the end of the year to have a look at the 1 seed. It's going to come down to maybe, again, that game against Kansas City, that game against Baltimore, and that game against Cincinnati. If you lose all 3, I'm not sure. If you lose 2 out of 3, I still think you have a look at it. You win 2 out of 3, I think you're in the driver's seat.
Yeah, and it even lines up with the softer start with the suspensions. Not that I would think the league was taking that into account, but certainly Bills fans are aware they're going to be down a couple of free agent signings on the defensive side of the ball in Hoyt and Ogunjobi, and when it starts to get tough, when Kansas City comes here in Week 9, those guys will have had the opportunity to ramp up and even play a game before they get to the Chiefs game.
100% right. And operationally, so everybody understands, they can start practicing after Week 4. So after the New Orleans Saints game, that Monday, that's a Sunday game. So that Monday, the team reports to the facility. Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt are allowed to be back at the facility. They cannot be at the facility once the 53-man roster is finalized. They can do everything in training camp. They can do everything in preseason. They're on the 90-man roster, 91 actually, throughout the entirety of the time. Once they get to the end of the preseason, the team will cut down to 53. They will be excluded from that. They're exempt. They will go to a suspended reserve list. Then they have to be away from the facility, cannot show up at all until after Week 4. Once that happens, they can start practicing for 2 weeks. They'll still miss the New England game Sunday night. They'll still miss the Monday night game at the Falcons. Then they get a whole nother week of practice in for whatever the Bills want to do during their bye week, and then they get to play against the Carolina Panthers.
Sal, I was in my car this morning listening to you. I've heard kids on the radio many times over the years. They're often hilarious. They're often, they can be annoying. They can be lots of different things. I would say, listening to your son this morning, for the first time I would ever say this about a child on the radio, it was informative. It was informative. My son is 15. Yours is 11. Bulldogs is older, and we all watched the Minecraft videos with our sons yesterday, as it turns out.
Yes.
And I learned a little bit. My son's been an avid player. He liked the Chargers one more than the Colts one. I liked the Colts one because it was easier to get.
Yeah, old guys like us could figure out all the jokes, whereas the Charger one was a little more like I needed a bibliography with it or something to explain.
I was sort of guessing along with Max this morning, like when you're watching. I loved how, by the way, you watch the Colts one, and he's like, can we watch the other one now? So then
I know. That was so funny.
You go to the Chargers one, and I'm remembering it, sort of thinking along with you two, and Week 2 was the Raiders, maybe, and you're like, what's this? And I didn't say it out loud or anything, but I thought to myself, it's because the Raiders are bad.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, it's the palatial AFC West estates, and they live in this little box.
Cave, basically.
Yes.
What was the...
And Max said they're stinky. That's what he said.
Right.
On the air. He said, well, they did that because the Raiders are stinky.
It's what a perfect 11-year-old kid thing to say. What was the Raider thing before the house burned down or collapsed or you died because whatever happened there at the end of that? The second time you saw that little hut the Raider person was living in, the Raider character, I guess. What were the pictures on the wall? I didn't understand what
Pete Carroll,
what all those pictures were.
Tuck Rule.
Okay.
I don't know.
So it was Tuck Rule was one. I don't know why Pete Carroll was shirtless on the wall.
Shirtless Pete Carroll. There was a robot like that vacuums your floor. Also on the Raiders walls.
Yeah, Roomba. Yeah,
right.
Roomba.
And then the group. All right, I understood that. I obviously Tuck
I don't know
Rule,
why though.
But the there was like a group photo was the last one, and I had no idea what that was.
No. Well,
I don't know either. I'm trying to go back and look. The Daniel Jones thing. Max pointed out the Daniel Jones stuff. It says better call Daniel Jones.
What's that?
They mixed up his J and the D. And then you had, and in that same one, they had the soda, which I heard you guys talking about it. That was right. He's like, didn't something happen with soda? And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. They had fan appreciation, and it was a soda.
And there was a
right?
Barkley ghost too, right, for the Giants.
And then there was a Barkley ghost, yes,
Right.
that they used. Right?
Somebody's job, maybe, is to track this year round on other teams.
Yes.
Keep a notebook of stuff, right?
Yeah, somebody's
Right.
keeping a spreadsheet on like, okay, the Giants did this thing and people made fun of them. Let's just use that next year.
Right.
It's the most pointed criticism by far I think you ever get from team to team. And
It's incredible.
What kind of administrative level is this person at who's in charge of these videos? I mean, they must have some license really that maybe they don't ask forgiveness, not permission. Like I'm just going to put Tyreek Hill getting.
I mean,
right?
And then that got deleted. Who knows what's up with that person? A little background, real quick. Same thing happened to me. So I knew Max played Minecraft. So when I got up this morning, I'm like, you got to watch this. And as he's watching, he's saying like, "Oh, Dad, this is cool. They did this." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, I didn't know that." I said, dude, you need to go on the radio and explain this to people because if I'm not getting this, my listeners aren't getting this, right? So that's why this happened. Well, ever since it happened, I had other people, and thank you so much, had a lot of great compliments on him and what he did. But a couple people said, oh, you guys missed this one. One of them, and I went back and watched, it's, oh my God. If you go to the Chargers one, they're playing the Dolphins week 6. They're on a boat.
Dan Marino.
And it says, yeah, but you know who's on the boat?
No.
Baker Mayfield from Tampa. And they said that's because of the whole thing with Brady being on the boat in Tampa.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm like,
wow.
It's got to be. That's the only reason he'd be on there.
Wow. I did not notice that. I did notice the name on the side of the boat, but I did not catch that.
I thought the Bills did great. I think everybody liked theirs. And I'd love to know, maybe you do, like how that happened. Did somebody know Iverson, or was it more like a cameo thing when you just sort of, it's funny, it's clever. AI, it's clever.
It is. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. I think Ryan O'Halloran might have written something on the Buffalo News. I want to give him credit because I thought I saw him tweet something out about it. So I'd have to go and see if that's the case. I will tell you guys, my favorite was the Titans.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw the Titans.
Yes.
And they did the schedule Rizzy, like you're taking a drug because you're withdrawn from the schedule and you need it.
Right.
And what you have to do is pay attention to the end when they go through the teams and say side effects might cause.
I had to watch it 10 times to catch them all.
They go to the you have to pause it. They show the Browns. It says diarrhea.
Right.
They show the Raiders. It says crapping out. Right here in Vegas. They show the Texans and they say imposter syndrome.
Right. The Jaguars were jock itch.
Yes, and the Chiefs were nausea.
Yeah. Very good. That was very good.
Yes.
All right, Sal, thank you, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend if I don't talk to you.
Yeah, you too. That's our man, Sal Capaccio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are always brought to you by New York's only outlet Liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
I need to look for some other ones to see, like, if there were bad ones. Somebody said, maybe it was Marcus Mosher, somebody said why is Dallas is always terrible? But I didn't think to look into it. I like the Bills one. We all like the same ones. pretty much.
And I did not watch everyone that I watched in its entirety. We've talked about.
Yeah,
I did not go farther than that. I said earlier there was one account on Twitter that put them all in a thread. And I don't know that every team did one because I only got like 3 or 4 into it, and I saw one. I was like, yeah, all right, I'm out of here. I'm not going to spend an hour of my life watching 33-minute videos about the schedule. I'm out.
Oh, well.
But so yeah, I only got as far as that handful.
I watched Atlanta. They had Mario Kart. Atlanta did that, and somebody's got to hold my hand and explain some of the references to. I know the game, but just a lot of it, I'm sure, went right over my head that I might have liked. But
yep,
that was my line. I'm not going to pause it. I'm not going Zapruder on the Falcons schedule video. Enough. Even me with my relatively sedentary life did not make time for that.
Right. The Charger one did have something we haven't mentioned in the Charger one was the Colts quarterbacks. You mentioned Mario Kart, tripped a wire for me. Go-kart racing, and Anthony Richardson during the race pulls off to go on a Pat McAfee show or something.
Out of gas, it said.
Out of gas.
They were driving cars, and Richardson is out of gas. You see him walking off the track.
I just felt like he's got to take a break during the event.
That stings. 803-0550. If you want to talk about the schedule, we had a caller last hour from Virginia that's like, really? These night games and then 2 at the end at home, great season, then it could be 2 or 3 more after that. Asking a lot, but so it goes for the top teams. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here for your calls. This is WGR.
Patriots defensive tackle Christian Barmore spoke with the media today and did say he is cleared for football activities. He hopes to be ready for Week 1. Barmore's 2024 season was cut short due to blood clots. We do have 2 games tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs, both Game 5s. Washington hosts Carolina at 7, and the Stars are in Winnipeg versus the Jets. That's at 9:30. Dallas and Carolina are the 2 teams who can advance tonight with a win. And then Game 6 of Thunder and the Nuggets in the NBA. It is in Denver tonight at 8:30. OKC advances with a win. Day 1 of the PGA Championship underway at Quail Hollow. The current leader is Cam Davis. He sits at 6 under par, still playing his first round of the tournament. We'll get more on today when Brian Koziel joins the show in just about a half hour at 6 o'clock. And then in baseball, it is reverse retro night for the Bisons. They host the Woo Sox just after 6 o'clock, and that game's going to be on our sister station, the Bet 1520. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Day afternoon window is still our high water mark, and while we are indeed busy making sure that the primetime partners all have really good games, at 9:30 in the morning on Sunday for our international partners, good game for our streaming partners, we can't lose sight of the fact that our biggest window, our most viewership still comes from Sunday afternoon at 4:30. So you got to make sure that every weekend it feels like there's a big game sitting there on a Sunday afternoon at 4:30, and having the Bills in 4 of them is a testament to the strength of the brand, the star power of the quarterback. I don't think anybody's got more 425 games than the Bills.
He would be the one to know. Mike North from the league. The teams out west do. Maybe the Raiders have 7. Because
they might be 405.
405.
405.
That's right.
That's not the national doubleheader window. That's just a 4 o'clock game.
That's right.
425 is the woo window.
And some would call it that, yes.
Sure, yeah.
The Giants have 1.
See if the league wants to get on, but I'll sell it to them. Woo
I'd like to guess which games are 405 and which games are 425 because the NFL nerd grid doesn't differentiate. Like the Giants at Denver in Week 7, is that a 405?
That's 405, yeah.
They don't make the 425 threshold?
The New York market, they might give them a 425 here or there.
405 or 425 games Week 7. Indianapolis at the Chargers. No. Giants at Denver. Dallas and Washington. Washington at Dallas.
That's 425.
That is so 425.
All day long.
Green Bay at Arizona.
Dallas, Washington.
Yeah, I think you kind of maybe just want one game at 425 each week. There will be times when there are 2, maybe more, but I think you kind of want 1. That really is kind of a showcase. Buffalo at Pittsburgh is one of these. 425 Week 13. Okay.
I guess.
I mean,
what is that? I mean, well, how much of what yesterday, ultimately gave us, as it pertains to the Steelers, is them sort of guessing at Aaron Rodgers to some extent, right? I mean, I don't know if you want to maybe highlight them a little, right? I think I even saw a comment on social media this morning from Mike North saying pretty plainly that their opener would be maybe a primetime game if we knew Aaron Rodgers was there. But we don't know that yet, so we didn't do it. But
at the Jets.
Maybe you had to hedge a little and, throw a couple bones that way because – if he's there and it's, they're decent, they're in the race, then they're going to matter.
Yeah, I would believe that. Not to say, why would I? I'm not suggesting he would be lying or anything, but I get that point. Pittsburgh at the Jets with Rodgers in the Monday night slot, say, instead of Minnesota-Chicago, I would believe that. What they did with the Steelers is put their Green Bay home game on Sunday night in Week 8. So if he is there, that's pretty good. Green Bay at Pittsburgh, Sunday night in Week 8.
Did you notice this? I don't have it to call up here, but did you happen to see the graphic that would have made the rounds? All the primetime window networks do this. Here's the Sunday Night Football slate. Here's the prime slate. Here's the Monday Night Football slate. And at the end of the Monday Night Football slate, they've got the date is what is it's a Saturday. I had to get a calendar out because I'm counting it up in my head. I'm like, what? They got a double header because there's 5 Monday Night Football double headers, and 4 of them are listed. Like you can see, there's 2 games for certain weeks. The Bills are one of them with this Atlanta game, and they are, by the way, like we guessed yesterday, in the early window for that game. The other game is Washington and who?
Chicago.
Thank you. So that Atlanta game will be 7:15 Monday Night Football. At the bottom, it's January 3rd doubleheader.
Okay.
And I went like, wow, they're having a Monday night. My first reaction was a Monday night doubleheader at the end of the season. The Sunday night game's the last game of the year. What are they doing? It's a Saturday. So ESPN will have a Saturday 2 games on Saturday, the final weekend of the season.
Okay, but they call it Monday Night Football.
Yeah,
that's
just
the
part
name of the show.
ESPN's calendar, so it's but those games are going to be on Saturday.
Well, okay. I mean, there are 5 games scheduled for that day as of now, including the Peacock game. So 2 of those 5 are going somewhere else?
No, you've got the wrong weekend.
Week 17.
No, I'm talking about week 18, the final week of the season.
Okay.
January 3rd.
Okay, right.
Is the Saturday that they're going to have 2 games.
They did that last year too.
They did?
Wasn't it Pittsburgh, Baltimore? 2 games moved to Saturday in week 18. And then they ended up playing again in the playoffs. Right? They did that. We went out for that Chief game. It was a Saturday when they beat the Raiders or Denver. When they beat Denver to clinch a few years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that could be the Bills.
I guess, yeah. That whole schedule is TBD. Right? That whole weekend, there's nothing that's set in stone there. The Bills-Jets game is TBD. They don't even have a day of the week there. So, yeah, it could be really anything.
This year, it was not Pittsburgh. It was Cleveland, Baltimore, and maybe Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, because it's always going to be division games. Anyway. Yeah, so that's happened before. The Miami point, we hit on this yesterday, and then just for a second with Sal there, getting more standalone games than the Bills. You know, that the way Sal talked, thinking of Mike North again, I guess that's just got to be a household name at this point. It's not a slight. The 425 point is fundamental to this. But still, that's a lot. That's a pretty heavy interest in the Dolphins.
It is, and I am surprised by that. I'm not put out. I respect the 425 point, and I'm fine with 5. I don't feel the need to be in some sort of a status race with anybody in the league. I think the Bills got a very advantageous hand from the league here with the travel and no holiday standalones, nothing really that out of the ordinary. I mean, everybody's going to get their Thursdays, and they've got that. So I feel done pretty well by the league. I'm not sure I understand the Miami interest. I maybe I'm too dug in on thinking they're going the wrong way. But that's a lot. That's a lot for them. I don't. Well, I'm not sure they really rate.
One is Munich. It's kind of like those international games are kind of in their own. They are in their own category,
right?
And so that's a Sunday morning. No, Spain rather, not Munich. Indianapolis is Munich. Washington versus Miami in Spain, week 11. That'll be the week after the Bills go to Miami. So anyway, there's that game. But night games at Bills, home to Jets, home to Ravens, at Pittsburgh, home to Cincinnati on a Sunday night late in the season. It's a lot for Miami. How do you like that Tennessee didn't get any? Tennessee and New Orleans didn't get a single night game.
I'm not sure if I said this yet. I feel like this came up. I would have thought they would get a Thursday. It's the number 1 overall pick. New quarterback, slide them a Thursday. Tennessee. New Orleans, I guess I understand. If somebody's going to get left out, they're probably the team that would have come to mind first as being left out. But, yeah, I think Tennessee with the number 1 overall pick quarterback, I would have thought they'd get an early season Thursday night. Like, hey, here's Cam Ward.
They don't have the greatest schedule. I guess it's AFC South. It'll never look that appealing. All the division games just kind of look like junk games. That's the whole. Before Prime showed up, that was always the joke about Thursday Night Football. It's always Tennessee and Jacksonville,
right? In a rainstorm, probably.
Yeah. So, it's New England, Denver, week 1. They play the NFC West. I guess there's not a game there that really just looks fun. They do play the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are already on. Every other of their games is already on at night. So you can't have them all. Week 17, New Orleans at Tennessee. Could be big. Well, Tennessee might be a little better than worst record in the league. Who knows, though? If the guy's good, they'll be better than they were. If Ward is good, how many games do they win? Like 6 or 7?
Yeah.
No primetime games for the Titans or the Saints. Carolina gets 1. A Monday night game in Week 12 at the Niners. Jacksonville gets 2. Jacksonville gets 1 with the Chiefs. The other standalone game they have is in London, so that's a morning game. Indianapolis gets 1. Week 16 against the 49ers. Cleveland gets none. Forgot about them. They have a game in London in Week 5 against Minnesota and no night games. I guess it makes sense. Jets have 2. I'm glad that's not more. New York, I'm glad that's not more.
How many do the Giants have?
The Giants have 3. Chiefs, Eagles, Patriots. Week 13, Monday night at the Patriots.
I think you got to take only 5 New York primetime games. I think that's I'm pleasantly surprised that there's only 5 of those games. I mean,
totally
that's what you just said about the Jets only having 2. That because it's New York, So you might just think they're going to get extras here or there just because. And really, what they got is just because they're New York. Unless people think the Giants sneaky, but I don't know. The division is so loaded now.
Yep, I'll take that too. 803-0550 to join us. We'll get to the PGA Championship. Brian Koziol joins us again today, coming up in about 15 minutes to go over round 1. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. From the world of there are two types of people. There are the one type of person when having the thought at the grocery store to buy something for one's pet to chew on will carefully look at the product, the label, and make a decision based on that. And the other type, me, will not bother to read anything and just grab what looks good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So today I was fixated on this one product.
Fixated?
No, not fixated. Okay. Drawn to.
A little strong.
How about that? All right. I was drawn to this one product. We've had mixed results finding Margot, our pug, something to chew on that she likes. And the one little plastic bone that she likes the most is whittling away. So we've bought her other ones, and she doesn't seem to really like them. Mm-hmm. I just had the thought in the store, maybe there's something here that she would like. And this one real bone is filled with apparently original cheese and bacon recipe. It's like, oh, she's going to love that. She loves her cheese. Mm-hmm. So I bought her this bone, pretty big. The dog is not big. And got home, excited to show both Margot and my wife this bone, and I thought put a smile on my wife's face that I bought this toy for Margot.
Thinking of the dog. Yeah.
Yes. $9. And, stuffed with the cheese and the bacon. She's just right away immediately excited about it. So I rip open the package, and she just grabs for it. I put it in her bed. She was sitting in her bed, and she just starts getting after it. And my wife holds out her hand to see the bag. So I hand her the bag, and after about 5 seconds, she goes, bone should be approximately the size of your dog's mouth. And she looks at me, she goes, this is for a Rottweiler.
Roughly 100 times the size of your dog.
Roughly. This product is for a Rottweiler, and you bought it for a pug. I'm like, well, let's just see what happens.
Right.
Let's just monitor this. So she starts clawing at this bone and just doing all the work possible to get the cheese and bacon mixture out of the middle from both ends. Like the entire rest of the morning, whenever I saw Margot, she's just grabbing at this thing, trying to get all the food out of it.
Until she got trapped under it.
Yeah, until she got stuck inside.
Sorry.
No, right. Or trapped. It's funny. Luckily that didn't happen. But it could have. If you dropped it on her, it could be bad.
Yeah.
So let's not do that. But.
Fred hangs on. He's got a stash. Every time I move a piece of furniture, I find 6 things that he had lost that they're new to him now. Great. So we're good. But for a little while when we first got him, I had always had these really big dogs. We had 2 Mastiffs before we got Fred, and we still had the one when we first got Fred, and that was always fun. The 2 of them together was hilarious. One dog was 200 pounds. The other one was 25. But I bought a few times comically huge bones for Fred because that'd just be hilarious, and he is very, very particular about that sort of thing. He just does not. Everything does not chewy bone type things, a stuffed thing with a squeaker inside. Whatever. It could be a spaceship. It could be a bee. It could be whatever. He is there for that.
Yeah.
Right. But the bone type things, he's just kind of nah, not my thing.
Yeah.
We just would find them discarded around the house. He's just not a fan. But I like the idea of the dog with a thing
giant,
as
big as she is.
Some from the Flintstones where they put the ribs on the car and it tips over. That's what I want for Fred.
Yes.
But he never really got there.
I just don't think my dog is going to choke on this thing because it's too big.
Right.
But I wonder if she can actually sort of whittle away at it, and if she can, she'll probably love that. But we don't know yet. Too early to tell.
It might last weeks, if not months.
Exactly.
Right?
Our problems are solved. This morning she's up barking at 4:30 because there was something outside, and just that was the end of that. 4:30 in the morning, we're both up trying to calm the dog down. So if this bone works, it could be worth a lot.
You're going to
get $9.
You get a lot of run for that $9.
I'll be the hero if it works. That's all I'm going for.
That's all,
any kind of credit I can get.
That's all we're all going
That's
for.
all I'm going for.
Strip it all away. That's
right.
really it.
That's right. Brian, after sports, we'll talk golf here on WGR.
and said he has been cleared for football activities. He hopes to be ready for Week 1. Barmore's 2024 season was cut short due to blood clots. 2 Game 5s tonight in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Washington hosts Carolina at 7. The Stars are in Winnipeg versus the Jets. That game at 9:30. Dallas and Carolina are the teams who can advance tonight with a win. While in the NBA, it's one game. It's Game 6 of Thunder and the Nuggets. That game is in Denver at 8:30. OKC is the team that can advance with a win today. We also have day 1 of the PGA Championship that got underway at Quail Hollow. The current leader is a tie between Cam Davis and Ryan Gerard at 5 under. We are going to get more on the round 1 as Brian Cosio will join the show next. And then in baseball, it is reverse retro night for the Bisons. They host the Woo Sox. That game getting going here any moment, and it'll be over on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's frustrating to hit the ball in the middle of the fairway and get mud on it and just have no idea where it's going to go. And I understand it's part of the game, but there's nothing more frustrating for a player. I mean, you spend your whole life trying to learn how to control a golf ball, and due to a rules decision, all of a sudden you now have absolutely no control over where that golf ball goes. But, you know, I don't make the rules. I just got to deal with the consequences of those rules. And, you know, I did a good job of battling back today and not letting a bad break like that, which cost me a couple shots, kind of get to me, and did a good job battling after that and posted a decent score.
Scotty Scheffler. It sounds like whatever that was did actually get to him.
It sure does. I missed that. I don't know what he's even referring to there.
Mud on the ball in the fairway. Wasn't allowed to clean it. Got upset. Shook it off for a while until the media portion of his afternoon. Then he was
ready to tell you all about it again.
Ready to complain.
Right.
He does seem kind of grumpy sometimes, Scheffler. I told you the one thing a week or two ago, whenever we were talking about him, that it's the one quote of his I remember, which like sort of was interesting to me, is when he was asked about his dominance. He said, "Yeah, in 100 years, nobody's going to know anything anyway about us. Like it's all meaningless." Basically, was his answer, and I kind of like that.
Yeah,
but it is sort of like it does come off kind of unhappy. Scheffler. Maybe that's unfair. Brian Koziol with us. Before we get to Scheffler, who did get it to -2, and I would think that's he's very much alive here as -5 is the lead. Brian, Cam Davis is the leader, shot 66. And the one question I have about him is, who is Cam Davis?
Good question. One of the kind of guys that's on tour, regularly here and there. Doesn't necessarily get into all the elevated events. Did not play in the Masters, but had a streak. I'm sorry, he did play in the Masters. He had a streak of 5 missed cuts that accumulated the final one going into the Masters. He had some decent finishes. His best lately was a 13th finish at the RBC Heritage. That was a week after the Masters. So, just I run of the mill. He's ranked 68th in the world. So a guy that, plays regularly on the tour, but doesn't really splash and create any sort of headlines or say anything controversial like maybe Scotty Scheffler just did there talking about mud balls. So just bogeyed the last, so he moves into a tie with Gerard there, like Zach just said in the update.
You can fill us in. What did, if you know, what happened with Scheffler that he's referring to there? Because I mentioned I did not see really much of any of his round.
So as we mentioned yesterday when we were previewing it, the course took quite a bit of rain over the last 3 days. And late yesterday, the PGA of America decided they were going to play the ball. They call it down, meaning just you play it as it lies, no matter what. And because there was a lot of rain this week, there was some thought they might play what is called preferred lies, meaning if you are in the fairway all the way through up to the green, if you are allowed to mark the ball and then clean it. Because what does happen quite a bit is if it does rain quite a bit at a course, you can get what he says is a mud ball, is that the ball will land in the fairway, and because the fairway's a little softer of a surface, you get this wad of mud on the ball, and it's almost impossible to know kind of like how it's going to affect the ball. And it definitely does affect. I know that whenever I've been talked with this before, I've asked some of the PGA pros that I know I speak with on our show, and they said, yeah, if there's mud on the ball, a lot of times it will affect the spin or how the pro may think it's going to come off the club. It might even do the exact opposite. It's extremely unpredictable. So I think that's kind of what he was thinking of today is like, look, if I hit it perfectly in the fairway, I get this mud, and it makes it extremely unpredictable in terms of what's it going to do. And I think, obviously, you heard the frustration there about it. Other players have complained about it. Spieth complained about it at the Masters because they had some rain. What's a way to make that even? Well, you could say you could play preferred lies, and then you could let them clean the ball in the fairway and place it back. Some, maybe old school mentality, you might say, hey, that's what golf is. You got to play it as it lies regardless. It's an outdoor sport.
Thank you.
Deal with it.
Thank you.
Scheffler obviously didn't like it the way it was sounding there.
Yeah, I am not sympathetic here. He wants to take all the randomness out of sports, all out of golf here. Yeah, once in a while there's gonna be a leaf on your ball or something. It's just even in the pros. I bet it's happened. So tough it out there, kid. That's my message to him, and he did apparently. I mean, 2 under is just fine, I would say, Brian.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's in a great spot, and I would probably, if you were going to start over and picking today, I think I'd start with him because of the uncertainty of the 2 leaders and the fact that Scheffler's only 3 behind them. That's definitely doable with 3 rounds to go. So I think starting with Scheffler, in terms of who is still in it or who has a great chance to win it, I think after day 1, if he didn't think he had his best stuff or he thinks he got bad breaks with the mud, I still think he's in a great spot right now here just through one day.
Yeah, he is. I'm looking at my FanDuel app right now. He is he's the favorite. Plus 330 is the number. Morikawa is next at plus 900, and then DeChambeau at plus 1400.
Pretty big gap.
Yeah, big gap. And Morikawa just jumped up there because before Brian got on the line with us, I had looked, and it was Scheffler plus 330, and then DeChambeau 1300, and Morikawa wasn't there, so he must have done something.
It was on. He chipped in to get to -3.
Okay.
So good day for him so far. What about McIlroy, Brian? I don't know how much you got to see either. I mean, you're working men. But McIlroy 74, do you know anything about his round?
Tons of missed fairways. He was 2 for his first 11. I know when I was catching it earlier, and the rough is thick and it's penalizing. And even when he was able to manage it to get the ball out, he was not hitting it anywhere near the pin that he could give himself what I would consider to be reasonable birdie opportunities. So he is definitely one that doesn't shy away from thinking like, hey, closer to the hole is still better, even though I might be dealing with rough. But he was super inaccurate today, and it cost him. That group, Scheffler, McIlroy, Schauffele, all double bogeyed the 16th hole. I mean, the finishing stretch here, they call it the Green Mile, the 16, 17, 18 finish. It is a very, very tough. Statistically, when it holds a PGA Tour event, normally it's the toughest on the PGA Tour, the final 3 holes in terms of scoring average in relation to par. So it's already tough. But all 3 of them ended up double bogeying 16, and McIlroy was in on that as well. He played the back 9 first and then the front 9 and did get 1 more back. But yeah, he was totally inaccurate off the tee, and it felt like he was scrambling the entire day. So not a surprise on a more challenging setup than what it might be on a normal PGA Tour event here, with it being more major conditions like that. He's over par, and he's going to have to play well tomorrow to see the weekend. I don't think he's necessarily out of it. I mean, he could shoot 4 under tomorrow very easily and be under par and be a discussion for the weekend. But if he's not under par tomorrow, at least in some capacity, he's going to put himself in jeopardy of actually playing the weekend.
Yes, that's what's interesting about today is that he's 8 back after 1 round. I mean, that doesn't at all seem dead. But he's in a tie for 103rd. Like, what's the cut? Is it 70 in ties? Because right now, I know it's only the first round, but if it's 70 in ties, +2 is out.
Yeah, 70 in ties. So yeah, he can flip it real quick, or he can be out. Yeah, it's obviously a spot that he's in where, hey, you have a good day, you're right back in the tournament. Like you said, you're not that many shots off the lead. And as I mentioned with Scheffler, I'll say the same thing with anybody that we think is maybe still alive. The leaders are unproven leaders right now. So if either Davis or Gerard both had bad days tomorrow, like, we wouldn't be sitting here tomorrow and saying, like, oh, that was stunning. Like, it's kind of what these guys do sometimes. We see a name that kind of rises up, they have a good day, and then usually it falls back over the course of the tournament.
Right. 18 players are within 2 shots of the lead right now. So everybody's kind of like in the middle. Almost everybody is, within reach, but, McIlroy's case, 103rd.
Right.
Yep. Thomas, too, is kind of in that boat. I think he's 2 over, but he's birdied 3 in a row here lately. So you could probably throw Thomas in that mix. Another guy coming in well with, in that top 5 favored zone.
He's got it to +1 on 18. We watched him make a shot. Whatever hole that was, Bulldog, maybe that was 16?
Yeah.
Where he flew the green and looked like maybe the ball was going in the water. You couldn't tell if it went in or not. The grass looks like it's so long, right, to protect you from the
it
pond.
Held up for him, yeah.
And so he's down. He's basically just a couple of feet from the water, and he just chipped this, moon ball.
Yeah.
Not an official golf term. Right. Way up into the air and made it. And they had a shot of him from behind the hole where you didn't even see him.
Right. The ball's rolling towards the hole, Brian, and I don't know if you were watching, and maybe you were, and here comes Thomas walking up into the shot because he's walking uphill. It was a real one of the best shots I've ever seen in golf, accompanying a great shot to begin with. Great camera shot. To have him walking up like that was really cool.
And let's remember, too, Thomas, Mike, you mentioned it yesterday, he won his first major here in 2017. So if he's at all in it, at least we would think he's a guy to think about that could win. He's in a comfort zone here where he won his first of his 2 PGA championships.
Is this right? This is my perception of him only, but I think it feels like a lot of times with Justin Thomas in a major, you get like a 78 and then you get a 63 or something like that. Just hot and cold. I'm not sure I'm right about that, but that's just my perception of him. And I think today it's happened all in the same round where he just started very poorly and has picked it up.
I agree with you. I think he's just that player too. I don't know if it's. I am no way describing his golf game, but it just in terms of maybe just it's mood swinging. But the game itself is. It's like he gets in this rut where he just looks absolutely miserable and so mad at himself, and then you're right. 9 holes later, he looks like the best player in the world, and he's able to flip that pretty well. So, maybe tomorrow he'll say is a good day, and we'll be talking about him with a chance to win.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Aside from the odd mud ball that Scheffler had to deal with, and I'm sure he's not alone. I would imagine other players had to deal with that too, Brian. How is the course playing as far as you can tell? I notice here, just dipping in and out here, that there's a very long par 3, 241 yard par 3, and then there's a drivable par 4 there too. So just curious about what you're hearing or what you're seeing yourself about the course.
Yeah, I think it's playing what I would want a major to be. I think there are some holes that are super hard. We mentioned 16. I think the finish, those last 3, challenging holes. But there's also some scoring opportunities you mentioned. And the PGA, I think, has done a good job of trying to take a little of what we all love maybe about the U.S. Open, which is maybe, faster greens, penalizing rough, but at the same time, not trick it out to the point where there aren't going to be some birdie opportunities. The U.S. Open, some might find it to be their favorite major because they love the pros messing up on every single hole. But the PGA does sprinkle in, I feel like, some moments where there can be huge swings too, like where you can have an eagle putt. So where you'd rarely get that maybe in a U.S. Open setup. So I kind of like what the PGA does. I think they're trying to find their lane. I was talking about this morning with Jeremy and Joe, their true identity. Their move now, it's been, 7 years now since they've moved from August to May, and I think that it's a more high-profile spot for them in terms of getting attention. I still think when people say, how do you rank the 4 majors, or in terms of its popularity, or what do you like about it, I still think the PGA is 4, well, probably most people, but trying to find that lane of hey, what's our identity going to be? The Masters we know is about Augusta National, the course, the tradition, how it plays differently than maybe other courses. The U.S. Open's all about par, super long rough, super fast greens, sometimes even maybe unfair conditions. And, of course, the Open is all about the home of golf and links golf, and let the land decide whether and the weather decide whether the winning score is going to be 20 under or 3 over. What's the PGA trying to do? And I think they're trying to take maybe a little bit a mix of hey, you get the amazing swings that you get at the back nine at Augusta, but also you get the penalizing things that happen at the U.S. Open, and maybe try to middle it a little. I feel like maybe that's what they're trying to do with their setup here. You do have the challenge and the difficulty and the length and the severe rough, but there's also some nice risk-reward holes where you can make eagle or you can drive a green. So I feel like I kind of like watching like that, where there can be – all I really ask for, no matter what the winning score is give me a chance for there to be swings in the leaderboard, either both good and bad. And I think the PGA kind of has that close to maybe where they want it to be.
I guess I would say they do about the bbest they can. For me, it's a tour event, only that we bet on it. That's kind of the difference for me. Is it just like everybody's there? I mean, all the world's best players play in it, but it'll never crack the top three. You know, this would have been a conversation for how many decades? You know, like what can the PGA Championship do to up its profile? I don't know. Like
you're in pretty tough
competition.
The argument is almost, Mike, how we started this bet is that we talked about which is the hardest one to predict. And I remember when we were talking in Oak Hill in 2013, I said, well, maybe it's the PGA because it's the strongest field. Only Billy Horschel is not here this week. If he was playing, you'd have 100 for the top 100 all participating. You have 99 of the top 100. So in that sense, I don't know how you run with that as a campaign, let's say.
Right,
but
right.
It is definitely the strongest and deepest field in all of golf. And it's not even close because you're including the live players, too, that don't even play in the Players' Championship, which probably is the second most deepest field. So I don't know if that's maybe something that they can run with, but it's definitely the strongest and deepest field out of any event in the entire calendar.
It sounds like this would be the one where you'd want to be on your side of this bet, where it'd be you wouldn't want to be me picking the 10 players from that logic. But we do rotate. This is just my year. Brian gets the Open Championship. No, the U.S. Open is first, Father's Day.
Right, and then I get the Open. Yeah.
Wait, Scotty Scheffler, wait till you get over there into Scotland or wherever they're going to play it this year, and you hit a perfect drive, but then it just sort of keeps rolling into one of those pot bunkers 50 yards away because of the wind, and it's right up against the wall. Who are you going to complain to then? Just throwing that out there. The game is not always fair.
There, but you probably wouldn't hear him complain there.
The game is not always fair, Mr. Scheffler. Okay, well, it's been an interesting day. We'll see what happens tomorrow. You know anything about the weather?
Supposed to be better. I know there's a chance of rain overnight, but I think as we go into the weekend, it looks really good on the weekend, but no chance of rain at all Saturday, Sunday. I think tomorrow is supposed to be maybe just a slight chance overnight, and then it's going to be mid-80s and then near 90 on Saturday.
Okay. Thunderstorms here tonight, by the way, if anybody.
Yeah, tonight, early morning. I saw between 4 a.m. and 5:30 a.m.
Oh. Here goes Thomas. He's in the water this time.
Oh, boy.
Some rocks over there. Or he's not. Maybe he'll just be just up and hole out like he just did.
Yay for us, Brian.
This would be even more amazing based on what that hole looks like.
Yeah, he looks troubled.
Yeah, he does look troubled.
Thanks, Brian.
Thomas, right, Mike?
I have Thomas. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. We'll let you go.
Okay, guys. Thanks.
Bulldog has said it. We've had the golf on in here all day, and he knows, of course, who my 10 guys are. Same. Every time I feel like I've looked up and one of my guys is on the screen, it's bad.
Yes. Right.
Like he's in the water. Here's Morikawa, who I don't have, who might be in the water on that same hole. But so at least there's that. Some other guys have missed two.
For a stretch, we were talking to Sal between 5 and 5:25, and every time I looked up, it was one of your guys, and they were making a face. So
was I.
The tracker was going in the trees or whatever. It's just like, dude, wow, tough one.
When we're not watching, they're making birdies because they're not like dead.
That's right.
But it does seem like it's been that kind of day. I made a note before we started today. Horrendous day for me. It's not that bad, A couple of guys are around. Morikawa's ball they just showed, which is like barely in this creek. I watched the Van de Velde 18th. Recently again, just that hole, the famous Jean Van de Velde collapse at the British Open 99 maybe, where it's a par 4, he wins with a 6, but he makes 7. It's so good every time to watch. It's not even like so tragic because he makes a tough putt for the triple.
To force a playoff.
To force a playoff. Like, you see, it ends well. The tournament doesn't. And he's like a name for sort of choking in sports history because of this one tournament. But what is it? He hits maybe too big of a club off the tee. Just, poke one out there. The announcers are saying, no, it's like a driver right rough. And then he's got to take his medicine and just sort of chip out. Double bogey, wins the British Open. Nope, just blasts away and it goes into the water. Then he
takes his shoes and socks off. No, not yet.
I'm wrong. The second shot hits the wall. There's walls, on either side of the creek. A burn, maybe it is, and it hits the bricks and flies back toward him. Oh, so he gets away with it. The second shot too, he's in the rough, but he hits the bricks and it bounces, or the gallery or something. It doesn't go in the water. It just bounces. Okay. Maybe it was like the grandstand. Bounces back toward him. So he's in the rough now. He's gotten away with it twice, and on the third shot, he dunks it in the creek.
And then shoes and socks come off.
Right. Then he takes his shoes and socks off and goes down the steps. It's like the steep wall, down into the water, like he's going to play it. And he just picks the ball up. Like, no, I'm not doing that. Sits on the grass, I guess, puts his shoes and socks back on, drops it. Now he's playing 5. And he puts it in the bunker. He just sort of chunks it into the bunker. Now he needs to hole out from the bunker to win for 6. And he doesn't do that. Good enough shot, makes the putt for a 7. Now you're like, I don't want to watch this now. I've just heard everything explained. Why would I want to see it?
Oh, you should go watch it.
Spoiler.
If you haven't seen it, you should watch it.
I have it saved. It's been 26 years. I just haven't watched it yet, and you ruined it. Speaking of ruining things, the Kansas City Chiefs. So Alex Gold with us earlier to talk about the Chiefs, the schedule, their offseason, and we have that for you next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.